Hi everyone, and welcome to a slightly different episode of the Trials of the Xel'nari. You'll note that I'm the one doing the introductory-ing. Ash is currently not in a position to be running a game, but he is in a position to be present. He's off doing real-world business things, but because we were also able to be in the call, it seemed like a wonderful time for a bit of character Q&A to figure out a little bit more about these crazy idiots that we pretend to be every week.
And I'm totally slightly green because I'm a druid and not because I haven't taken my makeup from yesterday's LARP. Definitely that
you're
reason.
just in character,
yeah.
you know?
Just in
Absolutely.
character.
So,
Look, don't worry, I'll join you.
The cat hands come to play.
have I got anything appropriately ridiculous?
A book. Just a tome. Grab a tome. You have plenty of tomes. You're the
Kalana says to
librarian.
take his. So Kalana says that he's take his top off. That's fine. And then Mug just needs to get a mandolin or something.
I can make it better.
I'll just start spewing forth limericks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Lamp? You shush. You shush. They're my happy hands.
Happy
These are my
boys.
happy
Happy boys.
hands. Come on, you can't see that this doesn't give free serotonin.
Oh, that's so cute!
They are adorable.
Okay, it's free
So-
serotonin.
So everybody, as you may be able to tell by the audio, we're hanging out in a tavern and having a chat. So pull up a chair, get comfy, and we're just gonna ask some questions of ourselves and each other. If anybody at home watching wants to contribute their own questions, just drop them in chat, and if we find them sufficiently tantalizing and intriguing, we will pose them to the group as a whole. But for now, we have this wonderful book called The World Builder's Journal, which is backwards. Essentially, it's a book full of like prompts and things that are really, really useful for helping you get more into your character. Each page is like a small prompt on the bottom and space for you to write it in yourself, but I feel weird like writing in it, so I'm just going to ask you all the questions. I've done some curating, so we're going to start with one that I prepared earlier. Where did I put it? There did I put it. So,
Here's one I prepared earlier. Where did I put it? Oh, me. No.
also, I've got a bit of a runny nose, so please forgive me inserting my
I think
finger
chat
I'm
gets
also
to
not.
watch me
up my
type.
nose.
I'm not also particularly
So-
well. Oh,
I think chat gets to... Oh,
Question-
no, they don't.
Question the first. Traveling across the land, you find comfort in one dish or beverage. What is your go-to request at any tavern, and why? Who
milk.
wants to go first?
I've got an
Milk.
idea.
Yeah?
My immediate response was kind of meta, and it's probably not the one that I'd go with, but garlic bread. Because everyone loves garlic bread.
Oh, yeah.
For no other reason than that. I'll come up with a better answer, but that
But,
was
like-
top of the head.
That comes from the place of like, I want to get something because it'll make me and the people who I'm around happy. So,
Oh no, it'll make me happy and everyone around me jealous.
No one said Mug was going to share it.
No.
okay, never mind. It's
Actually,
entirely different reason.
Speaking of that, the best way to have garlic bread is you put a slice of salami or
Right.
pepperoni between each of the things in the garlic bread and some cheese and put it back in the oven for 5 minutes. Amazing.
Cheese.
That sounds really good.
The
Yeah,
cheese.
actually, that's something to try.
The cheese.
Oh,
Bye, Drake.
we did. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say we did get a buy rate people. So thanks, Fez.
This is already empty.
For me, I've said it. It's milk. But there is a reasoning. So food-wise, at the Weatherby house was It's one of those like it was frou-frou, and it was like not like expensive. It was like this is what you need to eat. Go big, strong, whatever. He does like it was basically everything we were eating is what father wanted to eat. Whatever he was wanting was what everyone got. So there was no real choice in that matter. But there's always one thing you can't really go wrong with. Like, you can't put it down and be like, oh, this is like expensive, posh, or special, like blah blah blah. Milk. It's standard. It's non-alcoholic. Because the longest time, Sam's like, I don't want to get drunk because I don't want to accidentally spill my secrets. Also, alcohol actually tastes disgusting because they were really put off of it by the amount that their dad drinks. It's like all these things, like it's just like they never really saw their dad drinking milk because that was the children's drink. That was like for the kiddies to have. So it's like you can't go wrong with it, really.
So we need to make up a cocktail for both the Sams. It's a milk-based cocktail, and we call it Daddy Issues.
Oh my god.
Mr. Weatherby,
I'm done.
weaknesses.
Thanks for that. I nearly spat my drink everywhere.
Yeah. We were joking earlier that if you were still driving, our metric of success would be if you got into a car accident.
What is one of these? What is a watch streak?
I have no idea.
That's a new thing.
It's a new thing. So,
So,
Watch 3 consecutive streams this month. Oh, okay. Because I'm in them.
who else wants to answer?
Storm's pretty
Alan?
simple. So coconut milk
Fish.
is pretty much, you know, along with alcohol there. She doesn't drink because of, well, you've all seen the effects of the alcohol of her island. So to her, she's like, you don't touch this stuff. It's just a bad time waiting to happen. So she doesn't drink. It's just things she does. And the only reason she did at the island is because she couldn't resist the celebration, the being home, the things like that. But realistically, the coconut milk is like what her choice of like fun drink would be. So milk is about as close as it gets. It's not quite the same. But when she discovered milk on this fantastical new island and place, she was like, what is this? And so like it's just her go-to drink as well. Because cat also. Yes, fish. Fish is her go-to food. Her comfort food. Because she lives on an island. That's where she comes from, an island. You know, she's simple. She's very simple.
Isn't milk actually not so good for cats in real life?
No, that's incorrect. Cats are quite often lactose intolerant. So it's not that they can't, it's just some cats can't handle it, like their stomachs can't handle it. So it's not like every cat's allergic to milk. It's not necessarily good for their digestion, and you can get cat milk.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But lactose is not super great for cats. Quite often they're allergic to it. Or just intolerant to it.
Kalan?
Well, it's interesting because Thalai doesn't necessarily have a comfort food or a comfort drink per se, not a specific one. But considering the environment where he grew up, where his choices would be limited, I would definitely say that Thalai has definitely grown an appreciation for various types of alcohol. Because where he grew up, it would have been the equivalent of, I think, what would be called kvass, which is like a fermented horse milk drink that, like, people of the steppes and that, like that equivalent. That's what he would have grown up with, unless they traded some alcohol with some of the societies around the mountains. Otherwise, access to other types of alcohol, even a wide variety of food, would have been quite limited. So, I don't think I would necessarily have something that's of a particular comfort, or, but he is definitely someone who appreciates a lot of different types of alcohol, and very strong alcohol, as we have seen in the stream many times. But he does appreciate good food, and he is a pretty hearty eater, considering his size. and his build. So if it's
Okay.
good food, he'll be pretty happy.
Heck yeah.
I do have a more serious one for Mug.
Yeah?
So, you know how sometimes there's a garnish that you can add to food that changes your perception of it?
Yeah.
For him, the garnish is company.
Oh.
It's the company that he's in which determines whether a meal is good. A meal is a process and a ceremony, it's not a dish.
That's fair. That's
Ah.
valid.
It's really interesting.
See,
Now-
for Storm, a lot of the food is just weird. So for her, the comfort foods are the foods that are as close to home as possible. So
I
chicken,
cannot
fish.
I cannot wait for Storm to make it to Tanzanite because like the perspective from Kovac is actually like polar opposite to Thalai. She grew up in the biggest city in the world, a massive cultural hub. Most any kind of food you could want to find would be available to you somewhere in the city, I feel, Ash, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that's
No,
a lot.
definitely so.
Oh yeah, so you could find anything and everything in Tanzanite. So when traveling around, Kovac would view food as being very like utilitarian. Of okay, these are the things I should eat to have a balanced diet. But in terms of like comfort food or like things she really likes, specifically like Vidalcan home cooked meals, which I feel like would take heavy inspiration from Indian cuisine, like curries and naan bread, things like that. She would love those.
And not
Yeah.
booze.
No, not booze. Actually, her preferred taste in booze is like a very carefully calculated quantity of wine consumed like at the end of each completed like case or mission. She had that kind of cultural expectation imposed upon her by her previous guard captain. He was like, look, Kovac, you gotta bond with these people, and you bond when you get drunk. So you need to like show that you're trying, and go out with the other guards and have a bit to drink. So she calculated exactly how much she had to drink to be
So,
tipsy but not impaired, because she hates not being in control.
so what you're saying is if you can't make social connections, store-bought is fine.
Oh my god.
Not to downplay your amazing social skills, but yeah.
Yeah, so that is absolutely her approach to alcohol.
I mean, it makes sense.
Mm.
And I would say, but boy, you're bad at math. But Kovac's ridiculously too good at math, and it upsets me. I did think of another item. I think the other reason why Sam is so obsessed with bacon, and not just because it was a bit that I started because of pocket bacon, but in reality, like as a kid growing up, the only kind of like breakfast or that kind of thing there would be was like porridge. It's like
Oh,
it's like it's good for you, the kids. Like the dad can eat it all he wants or whatever he wants, that kind of thing. But coming into the Xel'nari, Sam was allowed to divulge into a little bit of extra, and it was like I think it's like the only thing that like her father ate. 'Cause the mum's a vegetarian, and that's fine. That's her choice. For the most part, Sam does try to eat mostly vegetarian because it tastes nicer than most meat products. But bacon is heavenly. Like
Wouldn't
that is
know.
the one thing you cannot take away from. So, like the only thing that Sam will probably ever agree with their father is bacon is good for you. Bacon tastes good.
So you'll actually notice with Storm that unless it's like, so when they're traveling, she finds livestock meats really weird. So
Nice.
you'll notice she'll go hunt like rabbits or deer or something like that. But the idea of eating livestock is really strange to her.
You mean like domesticated animals?
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
pork, lamb, beef, those are really weird to her. She'd rather have fish. Like, to her, it's about hunting the wild, and like like hunting what you eat. Because you remember, she's still a cat. So although
Well, I
they
mean-
have a civilized environment, they mostly have fish and fruity vegetable things, right?
So
Like,
I just pictured Storm going off to hunt for breakfast and dragging back a full adult bear, going, got one.
you know what? If she fucking caught it, she would. That
I mean,
being said,
gamey,
that
definitely
being
thing.
said, right?
I hope it's.
Well, funnel-
If it's like a black bear, it might be okay if it supplements its diet with like fruit and honey and that. But if it's a meat-eating bear, the meat would probably be atrocious.
So like, if we go
That's
to
what
like,
prestidigitation's for.
Yep.
yeah. So like, she's
But
kind of
this
like a
is-
bit
this
weird
is-
about certain things.
This is where I think Fog comes into it, in that he's a traveller, so he's been around, and his favourite thing, of course, is ale, but he prefers his meads. And he likes to be. He thinks of himself as a bit of a fine diner, in that he likes to find and taste the local meat platters, whatever they may be. The more exotic, the better for him.
What, he's a connoisseur of meat on a stick.
Yeah, so a brown bear sounds delicious to him.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, so Storm's also more interested in like her own cooking than the cooking of others. Like, it kind of, that she's used to fending for herself thing. Like with the Xel'nari, she's been a bit spoiled, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a normal thing now, but it's still not normal at the same time. So when we're adventuring, that's why she loves being the person who cooks, who forages, who like, and it's usually like mushrooms and plants and things like that. That's why she licks the plants. She likes to.
And it's also probably why
experiment
it tastes better to us, like, because like we're so used to standardly having the livestock and things that when we get like, ooh, a fresh hunted and gathered item, whereas to you, like, obviously you have like the dodo eggs, maybe some dodo meat now and then, because like the pet, they have, I don't know if they're like more considered the local pests. Are they your local bin chickens? Is that
Not
what this is?
quite.
Can I call it that? It's not my word.
There's
Sorry, it's not my
not-
word. Can I say that?
Cultural appropriation.
The island's not big enough for them to really have livestock or to have wildlife. So the sea is where they get their wildlife from. So you have to like dive for it, you have to fish for it, and it's just sort of like the dodo are too dumb, let's be honest, to be a hunt. So they might, maybe, but it's more of a pet than food. And yeah, more for their eggs than their
They may
meat.
consume, its eggs, and
Yeah.
if it was to die, then they would eat it. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
like absolutely. If it was to pass, then there's no point in going to waste. Like they don't like. It's,
Yeah, yeah.
They're not. They've got a different way of seeing like their little bubble of existence because it's so small. They have to make the most of what they've got. So they try
also
and be
feel like-
really resourceful with it.
If you were keeping dodos and pets as pets, and you were also growing crops at any quantity, having them around would be great pest control.
Pretty much. So they're like the local rabbits.
Yeah.
Like the equivalent of like having rabbits in a field.
So they're like rabbits with shitty wings.
Yeah. And giant beaks.
Also, dodo omelette just sounds amazing. I don't know why.
I was like, would it be very high in like fat or cholesterol? Like, you know,
The
like an
eggs
emu
wouldn't
egg?
be. Would it be anymore? I don't know.
Protein, I guess.
Only
Yeah.
one way to find out.
Yeah. So yeah.
time
Oh,
travel.
We have to bring the dodo back from extinction merely to have it lay eggs so we can cook the egg and find out what its nutritional value.
Is that like
Yeah.
a Jurassic Park that you order off Wish? Dodo World next summer.
But like
No.
shittily with a kazoo because it's obviously the off-brand version.
Yeah.
Or a recorder.
We never teach them the ways of the recorder or the tin pipe.
If people, Ooh. If people are interested, Kalan has just sent through a message, basically a follow-up question from Deathglamp-kun, who has
Yes.
asked, "What dish or drink does your character absolutely hate?"
And why?
Yeah, which seems like a very interesting spin on
Uh,
that.
I didn't change it to.
Yeah,
question.
got one for Mug.
Yeah.
Super spicy foods. Not because he
Oh.
doesn't like the flavor, but he grew up around macho soldiers in the military who were always trying to challenge each other and do the sort of the macho bravado bullshit of who can
Mhm.
burn themselves internally.
I mean,
so
unfortunately,
that
it makes too much sense.
yeah. And so stepping away from the I need to prove that I can handle the world's hottest pepper sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Get that.
Lie would be lettuce.
Really?
Lettuce, because it is this plant, this bushy vegetable that you look at it, you pick it up and you taste it, and it has no taste to it. It is just water. It is water,
Punch.
but that's not a taste. And if you want,
It's a drink with extra steps.
yeah,
It's
it's
crunchy
exactly-
water.
There's no flavor to it. There's nothing exciting about it. And on top of that as well, there probably has very little nutritional value compared to many other different types of vegetables and fruits available. He would absolutely detest cabbage. Not cabbage. Sorry, just
lettuce.
Yeah, he just would not like it because it's too bland. It's too
Would it be
bland
that?
Sorry.
Sorry, continue. No, sorry.
No, that's it. Yeah. He just would not like it.
I was like, would it be like that meme of Ron Swanson being like, "Why are you feeding me the food that my food eats?"
Fruit eats.
Well, no, because the lie does enjoy. He knows that he needs more foods than just meat. He's not gonna turn down vegetables or fruit. He does like his meat, yeah. I mean, and meat was a very big part of his diet growing up compared to fruits and vegetables. When you're living up high in a mountain, there isn't exactly that much forageable greenery that grows. But he's never going to turn down a vegetable or fruit. It's just, yeah, lettuce has no taste or flavor, and it's just a waste of space. There are perfectly much better and more suitable vegetables and fruits available to serve with your food.
Like potatoes.
Oh,
Like potato.
potatoes!
Exactly, potatoes are a very good vegetable to have along with your meat. Excellent in filling you up with carbs, and so many choices you have.
Indeed.
Trying to think. Drink-wise, wine. It's
Oh,
too
okay.
frou-frou, and again, it's very much a father drink, and it's just vinegar with extra steps.
No, it's
taking
vinegar
it.
with less steps.
It's not even good. Food-wise, I was actually thinking about it, and Sam's pretty much open to most things. Although I had a random thought in my head. I don't think Sam likes asparagus. It does.
That
like,
is
it's
a
just like-
random
fair.
thought.
Yeah.
It's just like it exists. It makes things weird colors, and it suddenly makes you have to discern if you have to, do I have to detect poison and disease, sort of situation. It's just, it's just wet sprouts. Like, oh, and probably not Brussels sprouts for that matter, because especially it's more if the lie ever ate them. Because no, I'm not
Yeah,
in that room. I'm not
they're
staying in
gross.
that room. Get me out.
Oh, the smell.
Get
the
me
farts.
out.
Let me out.
Literally, nothing but that meme.
Now, for Kovac, I know on some level this would break Storm's heart and is absolutely not information that Storm would have in character. Kovac doesn't really like the taste of game.
Oh, interesting.
Like, she's a born and bred city girl. So things like I don't know, rabbits,
You
squirrels,
like chicken?
they all have like a general like gamey subtaste that's like kind of consistent across all the different kinds of food, and like she'll she'll tolerate it, but as soon as Storm isn't looking, that taste is being covered with a bit of prestidigitation.
So Storm typically when they're traveling makes stew because meat goes further when you make a stew and you can add vegetables. It softens the meat because it's usually like you remember Storm is actually proficient in cooking. It's one of her skills. So she knows how to make flavors and things. She's had to fend for herself for a very long time. So for her, she actually really enjoys cooking. So she loves that aspect of them traveling. It's one of her favorites. And yeah, I don't think she'd be upset. She would more try and accommodate, but she does typically make stews and try and soften the meats and things like that. So it's, I mean, it wouldn't be too bad, but yeah, she'd get pretty mad if she saw you picking it out.
No, that's protein. You need protein to function.
Yeah, and that's another thing is like when she does cook, she tries to make sure that it's like meeting all the what she understands to be all the food groups as best she can.
Yeah.
Obviously coming from her cat background rather than like all of your racial backgrounds, but to her, you know, it's like this is a full meal.
Just having all like, and this is in your meal to make sure you all have a nice a nice soft shiny coat. And we're like,
The lie.
Like
I don't really
fish.
have any.
Lots of fish oil, you know? But you'll notice that Storm actually doesn't eat a lot of breads or wheat products because there is none on her island. There is none at home, and it kind of makes her feel upset in the stomach, right?
Shit. All the cat people are celiacs. Okay, let's go.
So, like, you'll notice she's never really had
Well-
bread much. She'll eat lots of meats and vegetables and stews and things, but she doesn't really eat breads.
Question. The question is it the cat people that are celiacs, or are genies celiacs? Because remember that
We
Storm
don't.
is
There's no
not
wheat
a
on the
cat
island.
Cats. It's the cats.
Also, that
Um,
means
We know.
There's no wheat on the island. They at best have what did we agree on that they had?
Lentils.
like
or
corn or something, or
Not even. We were talking about it. We're like, it have to be like a crop doesn't require like a huge amount of space. And we decided
Yeah.
that like trees and stuff made more sense. So like
It was more
coconut
tropical
trees
plants and stuff, yeah. And, like
Yeah,
papayas
yeah,
and stuff like
like-
that.
like maybe pineapples and coconuts.
The closest
and-
thing to like a
maybe
red meat that they would have
bananas.
had, which would have also been a delicacy, was the Komodo dragons that lived on the island.
But even then, only for very rare special occasions when you were celebrating something huge, because, again, it's about maintaining that ecosystem. It's a small island. You can't kill them all off just for everyday food. So.
Yeah.
As for foods she doesn't like, she's on the same page as Mug. She does not like spicy food. Anything spicy? No bueno. No. Just no. No. Put spices, put peppers, and she's like,
Yeah.
It is not bonita.
Come and have dinner at the Royasi house. I will show you a world of flavor.
She will smell it and go, no. It'll burn her nose.
So it'll be, here you go, travelers. It's been a long time. Spent all day making this food, and you're like,
And as for a drink, I don't really know. I don't suppose she's really technically come across a drink that she doesn't like. She hates. She doesn't drink alcohol in general. She just doesn't drink. So as far as drinks go, she doesn't really encounter something she hates, I guess.
for Kovac, for drinks, it would be the anything on the more intense end of a hard liquor, because there are no redeeming qualities to it. It tastes disgusting and it makes you less functional. So why would you?
What was that one again? Sorry, Kovac.
Kovac's like most hated drink. It would be horrible. Moving on. Unless anyone had any other contributions, I thought we could go to the book for the next one, just because it's a fun pivot.
Lamp does have
So-
another question though, so I will throw it.
Yes.
in
How
her
did-
hat.
I put it in now. Yeah.
To our list.
I was
Oh, you
just
did?
saying,
Yes.
I've already
Yeah.
put it in that thing.
Add that to our list.
So
What?
maybe we go one from the book, one from the audience, one from the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can take
So-
those. Okay, what's
Yeah.
the next one for me?
What
Okay.
prize would coax you to enter a jousting tournament with highly advanced competitors? And what are the stakes of the competition?
Not steak.
No, the
Sorry.
stakes.
There's an
It
easy
better not
one
be,
for Mug.
mistake, hey?
Mm-hmm.
If there's an arrogant person in the competition, Mug would join to try and make them lose.
Oh, yes.
And Mug would cheat in every way he could.
I'm just gonna go and pee. I'll be right back.
I have a.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, because if you're competing against a bad person, it doesn't count as cheating in Mug's eyes. Cheating is only
Oh.
when it's being dishonest to an honest person. If you're being dishonest to someone who's already dishonest, then it's just evening the playing field.
I like that. That's interesting.
I do have a follow up to Mug's thing. See, Sam wouldn't enter a jousting competition as the jouster. Sam would assist Mug in being the horse.
And
Fair,
Either for
fair.
Mug or for the opponent. And try and put them off. There is no way you could get a halfling that's being like, hold no, that's not Sam's
Halfling
vibe.
on a
Sam-
pony.
Halfling on a pony.
Halfling versus halfling. Yeah.
The halfling versus horse, so I can just hit the horse's gonads and going through.
Bong.
No, but
note
yeah,
to self,
that
adding
is
a
what it would
jousting
be.
tournament into the campaign somewhere.
I hate this. But yeah, that would be the only ever time that Sam would be coerced into some form of tournament, would be to help one of his allies, I don't even know, or to hinder someone within the competition because fuck them.
So yeah, let's have a joust. let's ruin some people's
That's
reputation.
actually-
I mean, for Thalai, it'd be very hard considering his size and his weight. Only like the biggest of horses would actually be able to carry him, and
Hair
that's
flip.
without armor. So
I think I'm the only
Thalai
one
being
who
in
can
a
hair flip.
So, Thalai in a actual jousting tournament would be very interesting, to say the least. And I feel sorry for any horse that has to bear him.
So I've got one
But-
question. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
But if he was to enter a jousting tournament with highly advanced competitors, he would do it to basically prove to himself that he could do it. It wouldn't necessarily be for a prize per se. Like, I mean, winning would be great, but more for him would be going like, this is something I can do. This is something I haven't done before, but this is something I can do, and I hope I'm skilled enough to at least go a fair distance with it. Would be his prize per se.
The question I was going to ask you about Thalai,
Yep.
if you had no intention of entering the competition, but then someone said to you that they thought you couldn't do it, that you'd be terrible at it.
Oh, he'd do it in a heartbeat.
Okay.
In a heartbeat. If someone says, "Nah, you can't do that," Thalai will go, "No, I
Yeah.
think I can do this," and he would enter it to prove them that he can do it.
So
So easily goaded.
I mean, we have played alongside Thalai. Yes.
Yes.
yeah. The only way you'd get Storm to do something like that, because it seems completely barbaric to her, is if you could convince her it was fun. That's the only way she would, because she doesn't hold value of money. She doesn't get that, and prizes and stuff. Unless there was like something fun in it, or she had to do it because she didn't have a choice in order to achieve a goal. But in general, jousting is like, she's not super highly competitive. She's just in it for the fun.
Also, in other related news, in the real world, there is a world-class jouster in Melbourne at the moment,
Ayo,
Giving
cool.
it
Wait,
a-
really?
giving a sword and axe lesson in Melbourne on Tuesday. Just
That's
randomly.
pretty cute. Like that information.
Oh no, we didn't separate
Also-
our memes.
It's fine. Also, Kit, just to give you information of where we're at, we're doing Q&A, basically,
Yes, yes.
about our characters.
Yes. But on that note, it'd have to be like Storm's idea of fun. It would have to be like seen as like a game. I don't know.
Is that where you put like a thing of fireworks on the end of the lance and a match right on the point?
Nah, man.
No, she puts them on the back of the horse to make the horse go faster.
Yeah.
No, she wouldn't want to hurt the horse.
Oh no, it'll be safely done. Safely done, of course.
Yes, we'll say it. I just
So-
The horse was
can't
a
even,
gnome,
like,
she would do it.
rude.
No, that's why Kit's here. That's why Kit's here. Kit has to come in knowing full well that the gnome conversation is going to come up.
God damn it,
Oh yeah,
no.
I forgot. Kid is the
nomicide.
Is the reason for the gnome.
Yeah, but like in general, these kind of competitions aren't her thing. Like the only reason she even entered the previous competition that we were in is for fun. Because she was entertained, she was curious, not because like she was wanting to win necessarily. Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Now, Kovac, she would enter, but the circumstances would be a bit odd. So, there's probably two circumstances in which she would try to enter. One in which the goal is not to win, but in which she is posing as an unlikely undercover operative, trying to get close to one of the other competitors, and perhaps get them to spill some compromising information to help with an investigation. If she was trying to like enter to win, the motivation behind that would have to be absolutely astronomical. Like something that likely would never be a prize in a jousting competition, but if it ever came to it, something like a spell book full of advanced and interesting magic should go, I want that. All these jousters will just put that on a shelf and ignore it, but I could benefit from it. So it's like the whole being in a contest thing. You got to be in to win, and she would be sufficiently motivated by that knowledge to
So-
at least try.
The other thing to note is that someone would have to properly explain to Storm the terms of the play, like how to play, because thinking about it more, she would probably stand on the horse rather than sit on it, and hold the thing like a spear because she's trained in spears. Like a joust is weird. It's a weird thing. She'd hold it like a spear. She'd be standing
Oh
on it.
my
She's a
God.
monk, right?
She
does
knows
the
how
whole-
to ride a
the whole-
horse.
Huh?
She knows how to ride a horse.
Yes, but the whole idea of fighting on a horse with a spear seems absurd. Just to poke them?
Even
Like-
worse,
Not wrong. She's not wrong.
you would throw the lance, wouldn't you?
She would possibly throw it. She'd probably dodge the enemy, like jump up and like land on their horse and poke them from behind or some shit. Like she would try and pull something that's completely and utterly not part of the rules.
Crazy
It's
monk
just-
shit.
Yeah, crazy monk shit. She just, because that in her mind is like that's natural instinct for her. So she wouldn't
Should
even do it
pole
with
vault with the lance.
Probably, absolutely. She'd probably like dip the ground with it, like up and over, and then land on the horse behind the enemy and just like, boop, I got you. I think she's
I've got
won.
a follow-up thing for Kovac. Well, more to the audience about Kovac. Who wants to see an episode of Kovac PD where she has to go back to her old precinct and like throw a weight around, investigate crimes, and
You mean you don't think that's already set in as a plan? Like, you don't think Ash already has that?
Genuinely, when Kovac returns to Tanzanite, it is going to take every fiber of her being to not actively step in if she sees crime. Because like,
Which is going to be a problem with this party because we'll be actively committing crime.
Storm doesn't intentionally mean to commit crime. She just doesn't understand that it is crime.
Blowing up an outhouse.
like
I'm
in
sorry, but that was
Tanzanite-
that was very carefully worded. Intentionally mean to commit crime.
Look, just
Like,
because she commits it doesn't mean she realizes that she's committing a crime. Okay.
I think everyone kind of understands the idea of blowing up a building, even an outhouse, is a crime.
Well, also, the instruction was make a distraction.
Instructions unclear, blew up
blew up
an
an
gnome.
Instructions unclear. Blew up an outhouse. Killed a gnome.
I need that on a shirt.
Give me
Type it
5
somewhere.
minutes.
Yeah. Mick and I can make it.
Okay, we can make it happen. This can be our merch.
I can
Merch store,
literally
come
draw
on,
a
people.
little outhouse with an like a mushroom cloud on top.
And there has to be a gnome inside it.
No, just a little red hat flying through the air. Like a garden gnome's hat.
Oh.
We could always get one of those like, we're flying through the air, but it's just the gnome coming out of an outhouse. That's just like, pew.
Oh my god.
I just realised if you're not British, you might not recognise that reference.
Just
Okay,
fireworks.
I demand, please draw a gnome
I got
being
you, Audie.
launched out of an exploding outhouse now.
What am I drawing?
A gnome being launched out of an exploding outhouse. I want
Yep,
to
yep.
see this
You will
sketch.
have to type it in the Xel'nari chat and pin it, like our little like notes chat, like where we talk the game chat.
Yeah.
Uh,
yeah.
And then pin it in there because I will forget because I have a list of things to do. But yes, I will add it to the list. Oh my
Alright,
god, my moments
Um,
of shame.
I guess the next question.
yes.
Yeah.
Are we
I
going
think
to
to-
Oddies or desk lamps?
Yeah, you know what? Let's go to Ollie just because I think it's a very interesting one. So, to all the party,
Have you typed it
what?
somewhere for me to?
it's in the Xel'nari admins chat.
Okay.
What is your most prized
Ah.
possession?
Right, that one. Oh wait, am I being asked first? I blacked for a second there.
No,
Well,
that's alright.
it's your question, so you should have an answer.
Yeah.
By
Oh,
definition,
shit.
you've had the
No,
most
I
time
did.
to work out an answer.
Sam's most prized possession isn't technically well, it's not an item. It's Mr. Nibbles. Mr. Nibbles is Sam's mouse. That was originally actually belonged to Samuel. And when they swapped places to kind of help everything go to plan, like, oh, you are you're Samuel, they knew that they had to kind of like go full ham, and so which Samuel passed over Mr. Nibbles to be like Samantha's protector, something along the lines. That's a bit odd. Sam doesn't really remember where Mr. Nibbles came from. Mr. Nibbles has lived for a very long time, and we know that it speaks Sylvan and understands Sylvan. And of course, due to the bond that Samantha and Mr. Nibbles share, Mr. Nibbles now goes on fire, which Samuel did not know until it happened in front of his eyes. So yeah, there's a lot of me saying names and getting confused. So for those who don't know, my character is Samantha, a twin. Brother Samuel, we swap places. That's the short of it. And we're halflings, so very short. So they did that, and when Samantha, my character, ended up kind of going further into her fire abilities, which is when they were with the Xel'nari, then yeah, Mr. Nibble suddenly was able to go on fire, and it was kind of weird but cool, and really freaked her brother out. That was fun. So I count that as my most prized possession because it's the one thing that Samantha's had with her from like day one at the Xel'nari at the very least.
Storms is easy. It's her compass.
Duh. You mean her
Um,
house? I mean, what? Nope.
Storm's compass was one. It's not a compass that points north. It's a compass that points to her island because she comes from an island, obviously, that moves. You guys know this. I'm not sure how much chat knows.
They should know if they've been watching the game.
But her island is basically on the back of a giant sea beast, turtle-esque, and it was or is soon not to be surrounded by a storm. So no one could find it. And if the only way you could find your way home was by having one of these special magical compasses which leads you home. It always points to the island so that she could find the island wherever she went. And it was a gift from her mother who passed away when she was a child. I actually don't remember the circumstances as to why or how, but that's okay. Maybe Ash can fill that in. Does she
No,
even know?
you don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I just realized I don't think Storm knows, and neither do I. So there you go. But she was a very high-ranking member of the monastery where she grew up, and oh my god. And once her mother passed away, you know, Storm didn't have a whole lot left of her mother because they're not particularly materialistic. But that compass was a gift from her mother that she holds and cherishes very tightly, especially since she left the island and could not return home. So that to her is probably the biggest thing, because one, it's from her mother, and two, the only thing she had connecting her back to her homeland. That's a pretty simple one for her. She's made that pretty obvious through the campaign.
Simple one for Mug. A slightly embellished leather belt. That was a birthday gift from his mother. The rest of when he sort of left home, he basically left all his possessions or replaced the possessions and got new ones. So all the stuff that he's carrying around now is stuff that he's bought since leaving. But he kept the belt as a memento.
Okay. I've been thinking about it for Kovac. Like, I could go, yeah, sure. She's kept her original spellbook because like she bought with the help of Mug the enduring spellbook, which will be able to survive being in water and fire damage and everything, which is just useful. But she kept the OG spellbook. I thought maybe that. But thinking about it, I've thought of something a bit different. A few times I've alluded to Kovac having a
Book of Smut?
No. That hasn't been alluded to. It's made very obvious. A linen scarf that sometimes she'll use for like utility purposes, sometimes for other things, and like it's a little bit of home and heritage that she carries around with her. Like in Tanzania, I'm not sure if Ash is sticking with this lore-wise, so correct me if I'm wrong, Ash, but I suggested that it would be cool if a lot of the like larger buildings and larger homes on Tanzanite had rooftop flower gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And once a year, all of the like the fabric dyeing and tanning places in Tanzanite will open up their doors, and families can take in petals and crops that they've grown on their roofs and turn it into a dye, and then use that to dye important articles of clothing that are then worn during the year. So the better you take care of your rooftop garden, the better you look for the year. And so she has probably had this scarf since birth, and so it's been dyed like dozens of times, different colors. So currently it's kind of lingering on like a light lavendery purple, but she is absolutely going to have it re-dyed once she gets back home to Tanzania. Yeah.
That's cute.
Scarf.
Yeah.
Thalia's one of
Little
the people left.
Hey, it is me. I'm the last one. So, quite a few times in the stream, I've alluded to an earring that Thalia wears. It is one of the only excessive articles of clothing he has. It is a pure gold stud, but most of the value in the earring itself doesn't come from the stud, it's from what hangs from the stud, and attached to them are 2 feathers of, I can't remember what species we said it was exactly, but basic, because this was a year and a what ago now. we started the campaign, but I think it's like we called it like a mountain rock or something like that, not like the giant D&D rock, but something of that kind of thing, of that kind of caliber basically, and it's 2 feathers from that bird attached to it, and the feathers are very unique in the fact that the feathers of this type of bird are incredibly durable, almost as durable as steel. So it is very hard to ruffle them, snap them, break, and that sort of thing, but it's a feather, so it's not heavy. And it's part of a decoration of his earring, and that earring is important to him, one, because he has one of his runes for his rune knight abilities on it at all times, which is his fire rune, because he is a very dedicated craftsman and likes having that additional blessing always on him at all times. But the earring itself is actually a farewell gift from his mother. So when he left the tribe, the idea is for his tribe, when they give up someone to the Xel'nari once a generation, they're not expected to ever come back. So this is a keepsake for Thalia that he will always have to remember his mother, because when he stepped away from his home and went to join the Xel'nari, it was at the idea that he would never go back home and see his family, his friends, anything like that again. So there's always a memento and a reminder of the tribe he left and the memories of growing up in that tribe.
Cool.
So, very important for him.
Also, Ash, if those bird feathers are canon that they are that strong, can we please have a Goliath wearing armor made entirely out of those feathers, looking fabulous?
I can neither confirm nor deny this being in the works already.
The ultimate muscle butch.
So much peacocking going on here.
The feathers themselves are pretty rare at dropping off, so the fact that you have them is a very, very big gift.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that everyone answering the sessions question?
Would you like me to go a little bit crazy and just turn to a random page and see what happens?
Well, there was the question from Lamp, so let's throw that one out there first.
Yes. Desglamkun, with what has happened with the story so far, what is one thing you as a player, I feel like would tell your character makes more sense as a sentence. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what's one thing you as a player would tell your character?
This is an interesting one.
If people would like to ponder, I have thought of one for Kovac.
Mug should
I
have
might
stayed
need to hear
asleep.
I might need to hear. I'm gonna have to hear other people's because I'm not quite understanding the question still.
Okay.
I have one. I have one for Kovac.
At where we're up to now in the story, if you as the player could tell your character one thing, what would you tell them?
With all the outer character knowledge you've got, presumably.
Yes. So I, Zoe, would tell Kovac, look out for and respect your friends more, or you will lose them.
Oh.
Because, she's a little too up in her own business, is having a hard time, even after all these years, properly emotionally connecting with the party, and sometimes she just comes across as quite cold and uncaring, and if she's not careful and if she keeps it up too much, then they'll just stop liking her.
There's cruel
I
comments that we
actually
could
have
put in
one.
there.
I have one for the players, but I'll wait till everyone's done.
Okay.
Alright. I don't know.
It's a challenge, right?
That one's
like-
a hard one.
Oh,
I do have a more
Uh,
serious one for Mug.
Mm-hmm.
Your jokes are funnier in your head than they are in the game.
But his poetry's on point.
Right? God damn. Very annoying, but yes.
I think I would tell Storm to trust and rely on her friends more.
Ah.
So, like, she spends too much time in her own head thinking she has to protect you guys, rather than working with you guys.
Mm.
Like, I know she's, like, the child of the group. And technically, you're all looking after her and looking out for her, because she is still learning. She's very young and doesn't quite get the world from the same perspective that everyone else does. She grew up in a very sheltered island where everything was basically paradise. So for the last 4 years, her eyes have been very, very widely opened to everything else in the world. And she's taken it in with a sense of wonder of like, holy shit, there's so much going on. The good and the bad. But in a weird way, she thinks that she has to be stronger than she is.
I've got two.
Yeah?
Number one, kill your father. No.
Holy shit.
You can get some help for that if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
I know.
He's
I'm
a bad
perfect
guy.
with this. No, the only real thing I probably would tell Samantha is trust your friends earlier about your secret. Like, Samantha kept that entire, like, who they technically really were for, like, the entire time, like, almost 3, 4, 5 years from all of you, and it's just one of those always a bit more worried that just seeing, like, I think the most one thing is actually probably Kovac to a degree, like, telling her that my information is incorrect in the school system, and then having Kovac potentially go off and be like, by the way, Barda, we need to do this. Like, convincing Sam that it's fine, and they need to go tell people, and then other things come out, and then it just spirals from there. And yeah. So that would be the one thing. You can trust your friends earlier with that information.
I'm sure Kovac knows all the correct forms to file to make sure things are in order.
And that's the issue.
And you've got
That's
them
the issue right
pre-filled
there.
out, just in the bottom of the case.
If you want to change your name, if you want to change your class, if you want to do this, I've got them all. For all of us, I have our
Ready,
backup
ready?
plan.
Oh yeah, if you've been married in the time that you have, you've been here, or if a family has passed away and you've now inherited, you need to declare this, and
If you
yeah.
suddenly had a curse declare that you are now actually an ancient king, I've also got one for that.
No, Kovac,
Just in case.
Here's
Just
an
in
interesting thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
When we get back to civilization, we need to put Sam on trial for impersonating a Xel'nari agent.
You actually get that.
Because Samantha was never inducted into the organization.
She
It's
was though.
true.
She was the one who showed up. Just
I'm the one who
and
showed
done
up.
all the training.
Under a false,
so she was.
under
So
a
she
false
lied on her
alias.
application. Yeah.
Yeah,
lied-
she lied,
On the application, it says Sam.
and that you're a
Unless
male.
it needs the actual technical full, because
Yeah.
like everything Sam has ever written out that has just been Sam. specifically, unless therefore legality
Interesting.
readings, the entire school does actually
God
need like
damn.
the full name.
Kovac and Mug are gonna have a field day on that one.
Can I just say
Oh,
how
the best thing is I'll be lawyer for the defense because Kovac would be forced to be lawyer for the prosecution.
Like that goddamn Star Trek episode. Where
it is? Oh!
Just saying. I'm just
I have to be
saying.
Riker and try and prove the data isn't real.
Well, it all depends on if the actual full name had to be put out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
If that makes sense. If the
Yeah.
full name had to, then yes, there would be a slight incident. Or well, technically, their father would have set that up, and to his knowledge, he did send Samuel. Just Samantha turned up, and from then onwards, everything was just Sam.
So, can I just say how happy
They've
I
thought about
am?
this.
Like, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I get the impression that the increase in jokes about paperwork and bureaucracy in this campaign is purely because my character is present. It makes me very happy.
Yep.
As for
We
me,
love Kovac and you.
Yeah.
as for
It's a
me,
lie.
with some of the out of character knowledge that I have recently learned after last week's stream, due to our discussions that myself, Zoe had with Ash, and I think you were there as well, Michael. What was
Oh,
done?
yeah.
What was done in the past is done. You are not responsible for what others have done since then.
Mm.
Mm.
If only you could tell Thalia that.
If only I
mean-
could tell Thalia that. Yeah.
I would tell Storm to check out that item she got from her father.
You could also tell Thalai there's an item in your stomach and a piece of your memory is missing. Maybe
Oh,
get that checked
Oh
out.
yeah! You should tell Thalia that!
Yeah,
You
I
see-
forgot about that. Yeah,
That would be
funny.
possible, except Cullen forgot about that. Or Cullen forgot about that.
Yeah, no, basically, hey, your memory was tampered with when you were being tortured, and you have a demonic tracking device inside you.
You have no idea what it does.
Well, she said something at the time about how it will be used to gather information. So it sounds like a tracking device. Oh god, that's going to be so much worse than a tracking device, isn't it?
It's an explosion waiting to happen. You're a
You're-
ticking time bomb.
You're going to grow a second head out of your chest, which is eventually going to separate into a whole nother
Oh my
Thalai.
god, I've thought of something even worse. You're the vessel.
Oh.
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 You're the vessel. He's gonna be resurrected as you, like in you, by you, with you, you. You're the
That'll
vessel.
give you about 20 milliseconds of fame before you're a mist.
Yeah, that would be probably the other thing I would tell Thalai. Yeah, that thing, that very important thing.
Mhm.
That I'm sure will have no consequences because we don't know about it down the line.
There are ways to find out.
Yeah, but the problem is we can't find out if we don't know about it.
Like
Like-
everything else in this game, we can stumble onto the right answer.
This is true.
It's what we're good at.
Alright.
Absolutely.
Shall we now go for the random question in the book?
Actually,
Yes!
Oh,
Ash
hold
said
on.
he had one for us as
Oh,
a
yeah.
dungeon
Okay,
master.
okay.
As the
Please-
dungeon master,
Please
something
type out
I
your
would tell
questions.
the
Oh.
players
Yep.
is beware the silver-faced man. He knows far more than he ever should, but his advice may be misleading, and do not ever cross him.
Oh god!
Sorry, could you repeat that? What?
What?
Advise the silver-faced man. He knows more than he lets on, but his words may be misleading. But do not ever cross him. I think that was what you said.
Who's
that
the
in reference to
silver-faced
Mug?
man?
No,
I'm the silver-tongued man.
No, that was
No,
a reference.
Silverface man.
That was a reminder of that madman that accosted me on the car as we were driving.
Ah, you do remember him.
I do remember.
Oh, well, they
that.
gave us the beans.
No. This was a different one. This was the man we met in that port town in Mara?
Well, only you met him technically.
Oh yeah,
that was
that's
when
right.
we were dumped out of the stream, and we didn't hear the conversation. I think.
Mm.
I have
And
no
then we
idea. I have
rejoined.
no recollection
It's quite
of this
possible.
information.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been a whisper occasion.
Oh.
I think it
Only
was.
Salai is actually aware of this person.
And we didn't go back and watch the episode.
Why
Yeah.
would we? We were
No,
there.
of course
Yeah.
not.
Out of respect for the story, I don't go back and watch things like that.
I
No,
honestly
same
thought,
here.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that Ash was going to say, as a GM, I would say to the players, turn up on time, damn it.
No, you guys are actually pretty good about turning up
Yeah,
on
we're
time.
actually pretty decent in timekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, random page. It's like a world building question because there is someone here where it's like, in your campaign, design a random
Ooh,
cabin. So
How many pages
I'm
are there
going
in the book?
They're not numbered.
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
I'm afraid not.
Go for it.
So, flippity. I'll go here. No.
Wait, didn't Ash say
We
that he had one for us?
No, he had advice for us.
I had the advice. Yeah.
We can make one of the ones for world building work.
Oh, okay. This could be interesting. You have a very close and personal bond to a person that many would find surprising. Who is that person and what is that bond?
All of you.
I
It's
don't
our
think that's
group.
surprising.
Or would it be Mug, actually, technically? Because he's a mercenary out of... Oh, no! Thog! Thog! It's that... Well, that's Storms. That's Storms more than anyone else. But
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah,
say,
I was gonna
count
say
Thog as
again,
that.
it's not surprising.
For Storm,
Oh,
it's really
no.
not.
No, but like a tabaxi and an orc are kind of a bit of an odd. A tabaxi monk and an orc brawler. Actually, that is a bit more common ground than I
Okay,
thought. Yeah.
technically for Storm, the odd one is Storm and Barda. The relationship
Yeah.
and bond that Storm and Barda have are very out of place, especially the people around both characters. So you guys don't know any different about these two characters and their relationship, but technically, everyone that's known Barda before Storm was around witnessed Barda suddenly bring back a child cat thing that didn't speak any common and basically latched onto her like a mother, right? And Barda became suddenly out of nowhere really nurturing and maternal to this weird cat creature. And that is really out of place for Barda, who's a warrior, and for Storm, she's incredibly overprotective and looks up to her people and people who know her before, this random woman that makes no sense whatsoever, came out of nowhere and risked her life for. So, like, that's probably the weirdest and most unlikely relationship or bond that Storm has.
Yeah, so actually some fun facts for Barda is that she was a veteran of the Namaran Empire military before she joined the Xel'nari. So she is a very highly decorated soldier and a very capable soldier, and most people knew her as a bit of a hard ass
People
before
still
Storm
do
came into
know
her
her
life.
as a hard ass.
Yes, so
Storm
she
is her
has mellowed up a
soft
lot, but still tries to keep on that persona a little bit. But Storm has a way of
Absolutely.
breaking it down that no one else has.
And part of that is that Storm actually saved Barda's life. Not just from escaping the island. So Storm's the one that convinced Barda to leave the island, but Storm is the one that made sure she got to land safely, because Storm can hold her breath indefinitely, which is something she discovered while escaping the island. She knew she could hold her breath for a long time, but she didn't realize she could hold that long. And she basically went out of her way to make sure that Barda stayed alive, and that's why she has so many scars, because the trip off the island and through the storm, and making sure that Barda stayed alive and well, really battered her up quite a bit. And then when they got to shore and Barda was well and safe and the storm was all beat up, bruised and battered, Barda took her back to the Xel'nari and made sure she was looked after. That was their weird bond. But yeah.
For Mug, I'll actually go with Mug and his sister back in their sort of homeland. So
people are surprising that a brother. So people are surprised that a brother and a sister have a personal bond.
well,
We
surprised
don't know
how
much about his sister.
it's more surprised how different they are, but
Ah.
the common ground. So, Mug, they were both taught fighting, soldiering sort of training, and they were also both taught how to deal with the courts because they grew up in a castle, fortress sort of thing. And he took more of his mother's training of the courtly negotiation, social sort of stuff. Yeah. And she took to raw violence with a passion seldom seen. So
We know so little about Mug.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
so little. We
You
don't ask
really do.
questions.
yeah, and he's good
Yeah.
at avoiding questions.
To be fair, you only know as much about Storm because you've happened upon her island.
And with
You
Sam,
never know.
because
My daddy could
Kovac
be a
found my
god too.
packer.
My daddy ain't no god yet.
Yeah, we were only really learning about
I
each other when like the
yeah.
time comes up for that it needs to be relevant because we're all wanting to avoid questions for various reasons, which is kind of neat, and I enjoy it. But at the same time, I want to know everything.
Yeah, Storm's always been really elusive about her home and not secretive, just elusive. Because no one's really like inquired that heavily into her home. Just accept, oh, she's the weird cat thing. All right.
Well, we started to learn more when Subtle turned up. I nearly called him Swift.
We all kept calling him that. We know we did.
And that's very true.
yeah.
But yeah, before then it was sort of just accepted that she was the weird cat character.
Indeed. I have a thought for mine. It's not actually a character that we've ever really seen before or properly interacted with, but I made reference to them like previously, and thinking about it more, I feel like this is a character that Ash and I should actually try and flesh out more, because us encountering them and interacting would be fun. Kovac's old captain, because like he saw her progress in her career from like beat cop town guard to detective to joining the Xel'nari, and I feel like if you saw these two together, you'd go, what? But there were like Kovac for sure learned a lot from her first captain about so much stuff to do with like with policing and investigation and things like that. So my main mental image for this person is like middle-aged human male, but that's it. That's all I've got.
I've
and
got
I
an
want
image
more.
for them.
I want more. Yeah?
Is it their Captain Holt to your Amy Santiago from...
Absolutely, yes!
Oh.
Headcanon accepted.
Yes!
I've been
Look, part of
rewatching
me is
Brooklyn
thinking,
Nine-Nine
is-
recently.
the problem is thinking, is it technically the roles reversed and Kovac is a bit more Holt, but in terms of personality.
No,
and like one of those.
I love the idea that we find someone with less emotion than Kovac.
Kovac has a lot of emotion. Kovac just knows how to keep it all in check because.
No,
it makes a lot
this
of
other
sense.
person is so dead inside that they just communicate by letters.
Okay, valid. Okay. TTFN.
Oh, Ash, we'll have a more in-depth chat about this potential character later because I feel like
No,
the
it's
party and what? No! I
No,
need more
now.
than
We are meeting them now. We're doing a full stream now.
If you
I need more than no.
if you want more evil ideas, I am available to consult.
I need more than just a mute guard captain who communicates by the written word and nothing else.
Captain
He will
Holt,
communicate.
99.
99.
Fine then, he will communicate through smoke signals.
Morse code?
It's
Carved
mostly-
marble
yeah,
slates.
but,
Who was next? Who was next? Somebody else answer the question.
it's Audie and myself, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For Lie's odd friend is anyone.
Yeah. I'm
I don't
No,
know.
you're
I
not
feel like
popping
it's
out that way.
Pip.
I know. I'm still thinking. Go, Audie.
I feel like it's
I'm
Pip.
thinking-
Yeah, it's Pip, honestly.
It's Pip.
Oh,
It's-
not really. I wouldn't count that. Let me think about it, and then when it's my turn, I'll explain why it wouldn't be Pip.
Okay.
Because Pip's
See, I
the
don't
worst.
really have anyone outside of you guys, because as a kid, Sam wasn't allowed to play with the other kids. It was like, no, these all the other kids, unless they were like potentially a child of someone else who was also like a merchant along the same times as the father. But even then, they're probably like always older or something, or just my daddy says I can have whatever I want, and Sam's like going fuck off.
Oh, you know that in Sam's childhood, you met more than one Veruca Salt.
That's literally what I was thinking.
You know.
Yeah, like yeah. Like these are kids like
Daddy!
I'm born into money and I love it and I get whatever I want.
Daddy,
And then-
I want it now.
Yeah, literally all of those. But the unfortunate that like in my brain I just thought about it is probably the only reason why my father would have allowed those children to come over is so he can then lord over the other parent. Oh, my child's so better behaved than yours. Look, not saying a peep about anything. Yours is just simply demand like that kind of. Like
Now.
children are bargaining tools.
Now
He's
let's
using
go
them
and-
to his advantage. So they never had friends. They had each other. That's why their
Now.
bond was so
Ooh.
at the time close. So and their mum.
How? Wait. Sorry. Did Samantha ever meet the person to whom she was betrothed to marry?
No,
No?
probably not.
Oh, okay.
I really don't. I don't believe that would have been ever a thing. It's like dad works with who they work with. This is probably a brand new deal that he wants to sign up to. So it's a new partner. So it's going to be someone that I mean maybe you've heard names of and seen in father's like writings, but never met. So it's going to be one of those you've got no idea what this person even looks like.
Oh my god. Sorry. This is gonna be so painful for you, Ronnie. But now I want like some like level 0 heartthrob noble just showing up and being all like, Samantha, will you marry me? And you're like, no.
No.
If
Then
you
their
were-
really hot sister comes along and just like, nah, I ain't got time for something. Just like, or something. I don't know. I kind of imagine like Sam, like that is something Sam's not really thought about. Is that people that she like likes. It's never really. No one's really ever come up as someone like she likes.
That's
It's
okay.
just not a thing that she's ever had to think about. But yeah, so friend-wise, the most weird people would be you lot. That is
We-
genuinely going to be
We are
Sam's answer.
very much in the bucket of weird people as opposed to normal people.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mr. Nibbles, but people have pets all the time, so.
Yeah.
So now it's going bad.
Yeah, Kalan. All right, where are we with this?
Kalan?
Oh god, I've been thinking it over so much.
So why isn't it Pip? You said you had a reason why it wasn't. That
Well-
can provide some insight.
So consider Pip. Pip is someone who the only thing that Lai really has going with Pip is that Pip was the only one who was actually had any iota of courage to go up and say, I want to sit on your shoulders because you're tall. And he granted it because Pip had the courage to actually ask that. And it was very forward thinking, and Thalai respected that. And while Thalai finds Pip interesting per se, they're a very enigmatic figure, he doesn't really think of Pip as anything special per se.
It'll
Not,
break her heart.
More like an acquaintance at this moment, you know?
yeah, maybe someone that could be a friend, but
So-
Pip is such an outlandish and outgoing person that Tathai, who is very insular, very private, very muted, it just doesn't really seem to like all gel very well. And that's why I don't think Pip is the person that would have a very close and personal bond.
Well,
Mm.
we weren't talking about
get that.
necessarily personal or close.
Well, no, that
I
is
guess
specific
no,
question.
it was, yeah. So I just
There's
forgot about
very
that.
We could change the goalpost a little bit and sort of go, who's the person that people would find weird that you respect?
Well, in that case, then,
Yeah.
Oh, is it going to be who I think it is?
who is the quartermaster of?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Because
you've spoken about this before.
Put any
Genuinely,
arms to your
Salai's spoken
chair.
about this before.
Well,
It's fine, they're magnetic!
well, you have to consider the fact that Thalai, as much as anyone can get along with Brenda, Thalai got along with Brenda. Thalai understood Brenda, and Brenda is a very prickly personality, but that's because Brenda has a very demanding job. They have to maintain, care for, and be able to supply a wide variety of many different heroes of various specialties and various missions. And it's pretty
Kovac.
much yes, and Kovac and their outlandish requests.
And they're
Hey,
outlandish
Zoe.
demands.
Yes.
Zoe, do you want to reveal why Kovac is not so fond of Brindle? Because
Yeah,
technically
you know
Kovac
what?
has never revealed that.
It's never really come up.
There was a
Notes. What did I see? I have Brindle at the top of my list in the enemies category on D&D Beyond. It is
party. What the flying?
Brindle, the quartermaster, high elf female, displayed preferential treatment to other initiates in secret while Kovac was visiting one evening. So Kovac was like arriving to the scene, paused just shy of entering, and heard an exchange between Brindle and another initiate where she gave his person like better, more cool gear. And so Kovac has never trusted her since.
Suspicious character.
So without context, you hold a grudge for 4 or 5 years.
Have you met Kovac?
Well, also, as the quartermaster, she is meant to be completely impartial.
Yes.
Well, no. I would think that the quartermaster, their job is not to be impartial. It is to provide what is needed to those who need it. There may be an inequality of what is required or needed in the circumstance, which would look like impartiality.
Yeah.
Or it just might be that they are playing favourites.
Yeah,
It could be literally,
but-
come on, sweet cheeks,
but
let me get you
with-
some better
and
gear.
when
Slaps
and
their
when
butt.
when it came with the light's interactions with Brindle, he has found that as long as he is succinct, very plain in what he wants, no attempt at buttering up in that, and if he has damaged something, he at least repairs it before he gives it back or goes, hey, this happened, I am now going to the workshop to make you a replacement. Brindle has never given too much heat for it.
That's
Brindle has
because
a
you're
very-
one of her favorites.
But yeah. Otherwise, the problem is there is someone I could say for Thalai, but I don't want to say it because I feel like it would spoil an upcoming story plot that I don't want to tell the players at this point in time.
That's bad. So there's still quite a fair bit.
Yeah.
That there is somebody I could mention, but I don't want to say them, just because it will spoil. It could be a big spoiler for upcoming plots.
Fair enough.
Oh, I've just thought about someone that my character technically respects, and everyone's gonna laugh at it. Like, there is a reason for the respecting.
Your
Oh,
Is it
dad?
that halfling bard?
No, it's the halfling bard.
The bad guy
'Cause
that
truth-
we're still following, technically.
No.
No, the halfling bard, our
Okay.
classmate.
Osborne, yeah.
Oh,
Osborne the bard.
Osborne!
Because for the amount that man spits shit, he tries. He's constant with the stories. He gives it his absolute full gusto. I mean, yeah, when he's found out to be a liar, he backtracks and piddles like a no man's. But like,
What you're
he
saying is
goes
bards are just
ham. He
better than
does
everyone
not
else.
care. Like, yeah, it's literally like he does not care about, like, I mean, obviously he's probably got his own stuff internally going, but like, he keeps going. He keeps trying. Like, he just goes. And that's one that would be surprising. The other one that's not surprising is the Triton. Everyone loves our little Triton.
I love him.
Storm
We love him.
absolutely loves the
Chorus.
Triton boy. Yeah, she
We
does.
haven't
Okay.
actually spoken to any of them in a while. I'm hoping they're
They've
not
been home.
dead.
They're gonna be like level 8, 9, and stuff as well, because they're all going off on adventures. Perhaps, maybe they're all
It's like
badasses
Chorus?
now.
Yeah,
I was
chorus.
gonna say, I think Chorus
Chorus.
was visiting home when we last visited, but we saw the twins.
Yeah,
Mhm.
leave
Um,
and leave.
Yeah, we saw the twins. I think we saw
Who are sorcerers.
Osborne. We saw Osborne.
Osborne
You
was
did
there
see
telling
Osborne.
stories.
That's how Mug met Osborne and has made a sworn enemy.
Oh, a friend for life. Friend for life.
But
Everyone is like, we look at each other going, oh, hi, it's been so good to see you. Kiss, kiss.
And we're not 100% sure what's going on with Cass either.
She was
She has resigned.
removed.
From Xel'nari, as far as we.
Hmm.
No, she wasn't removed. She resigned.
She quit.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't know what she's been doing since, and that could be a very interesting point.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is Mug should read one of your minds to get familiar with her and then send her ascending.
Were you not there when we... No? Yeah,
No, he
No.
Mug has
She
never met.
disappeared.
Mug's not Xel'nari. He just has
No,
all the
I-
advantages of the position without any of the responsibilities.
Or 3
No, it
years
was
of
more-
training.
No, it was more... I couldn't remember if you were at all there when we were doing anything with her, because we rescued her, brought her back. So I can't actually remember when we met you now.
It was after the Christmas episodes when the whole town was asleep and you had the Battle of the Bards.
Mm-hmm.
We ambushed
Yeah.
the band on stage. That was when you met Mug.
Oh, yeah.
no,
Kira
you
didn't
stole
make it.
his shoes. You
No,
stole
no.
Mug's shoes.
Wait, did we meet you? I thought that
In the well.
we went.
In the
We
well.
went into
In
a
the well.
town. Everybody
Oh,
in the town was
I think it was
asleep.
the Halloween episode, actually.
I took Mug's shoes to give to Storm
Halloween episode.
because there was like concerns of,
Goop.
of acid and goop
Hmm.
in there. So I'm like,
And
There's a
Storm
whole
was
bunch of
like,
people
what do I
in
do
the
with
tavern.
these?
put them on your feet.
She's
Which
like,
ones? Yeah, so that's where you met Mug.
Hmm.
And your world was changed from there.
Indeed. We've had-
Forever and ever and ever.
We've had another question get sent through by the delightful Desklampkun.
Oh, nice,
Great,
nice.
great
Yeah.
questions, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
What
they are good questions.
These are really interesting. What is one choice your character has made that you wish you could have changed or turned out differently?
Oh.
I'm not really sure about this one for Kovac. I'm gonna have to think.
I know what it is for Kovac. To
I
not
do
accidentally
too.
put that loophole in the contract.
No. I mean,
I think that turned out perfectly fine.
That was embarrassing, but that's not like
Yeah.
biggest thing. Like, I think just for the sake of convenience, I'm going to limit the choice to the events that happen during the campaign, because then it's just gonna leak into like backstories, spoiler territory.
Yeah, this is not the party to delve into childhood anxieties. 'Cause there's one missed opportunity I can think of. I think when we were up in the mountains with the demo, I think there was an opportunity to play that out a bit deeper and have a bit more drama isn't the right word necessarily, but I think I know from my point of view as playing Mug, didn't push it as hard as I could have, and that could have played out to be a very interesting scene with the elements of racism and loyalty and duty, and there was many layers going on there, and we only sort of touched on a few of them.
Yeah.
There was also a lot going on. It's one of those, in hindsight, like, we can think this. But obviously, in the moment, we've had a lot that our characters have been through. Like, at that point, we were all still quite fresh to being like Xel'nari, specifically.
And we had the world's dumbest plan. The dumbest plan to jump off a cliff.
Did we die, though?
No.
It
Did we die, though?
I did go unconscious.
worked.
Because a plan works doesn't make it smarter, just successful.
Oh yeah, duh. Ask any politician that's ever succeeded ever.
It's such a fun story to tell, though. Like, my God.
So for people who don't know the stream, basically that don't know what happened, we were trapped in a town on top of a mountain that was surrounded by a bunch of like these demon dogs that flinged poison spikes at us. It was horrible, and we're just like, if we stay here, we're going to die. They're going to starve us out, or they're just going to break in as they keep on trying to break in. We need to leave. So what are we going to do? We fashioned two very crude sleds, and I mean from tables and benches and things. We packed everyone into them except for myself and for Sam. Sam changed into a giant elk.
I cast enlarge on the elk.
Yes, that's right. You cast enlarge on the elk, and then I enlarged myself with my giant smite, and we just ran while people on the back did what they could to try and get things out. The moment we exited the gate, we were blocked in by like a horde of 20 of them. Until you blew them up with like a fireball.
We had other layers. We had the illusion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was the illusion cards.
And like at the time we were level 5, so I blew both my fireballs in the first 2 rounds just to get through the first wave of these things.
Oh,
That's not even the crazy part.
Yeah, the crazy part came once we had run through the town and got to the edge of the cliff. Everyone gathered into one of our carts that we had sitting on the edge of town. The horses were gone. Too bad, so sad. And I was then enlarged again due to enlarge to become huge. And carrying the cart, I jumped off the cliff, ready for. Was there to be a featherfall?
A loophole in the featherfall spell.
Yep.
I cast featherfall.
And I just leapt as far as I could, and before I could start to fall down, Featherfall was cast, and we made it. I went unconscious as we were in mid-jump because of all those spikes. Somehow still managed to keep a hold of everything. Of course, Sam sticking out, just going, "Hey, you'll be all right, buddy." And we land down, minimal damage to the cart, amazingly, and we just book it out of there. Like
It was a pretty amazing escape, I will say.
And as we disappeared into the cloud cover below the cliff,
all right,
an unseen servant just like picks up a tinderbox and lights the cart full of alcohol we had with us and blows all the demon dogs away.
And causes a mini avalanche from the town.
We still never really worked out like where and how they were coming through or dealt with them. They're still there.
Yeah.
Yep. They definitely are. Though we did forge some papers and give them to some Namarans to convince them to go and investigate and solve the problem for us because
I
we weren't
thought we
going
told them
back.
to go to the Xel'nari to then get help.
We did something to
We
like
sent the demo to the Xel'nari to
We
get
sent the
help,
demo
yeah.
to the
Yeah.
to the. They
and convince
arrived
Namarans
and
to investigate.
yeah, we did. We they got there, and then I think you messaged them. We got something back saying, yeah, we've got some problems at the moment because I think they arrived, and everyone was like, don't care what papers you got, fuck you, and like it got smoothed. I think
They got arrested in Antioch because of the assassination of the
that's the
of the
one.
Namari.
Oh, yeah.
They were suspect,
And then Mug
but we
called in a
told
favour.
We called
Yes.
them in a personal favor, and they were released, and they went to the. As far as we know, they then head to the Xel'nari castle.
Yeah, because we've not been back since because we got sidetracked with my thing, and then Storm's thing.
Oh yeah.
Yes, accidentally.
I've thought of something.
And next up, other people's things.
Yes.
I have thought of something for Kovac actually.
Oh.
I think Kovac probably wishes that that she had been stronger and had been able to resist the effects of the cursed loot. Because of her weakness, that bard got away. Because she was compromised and Thalai was busy trying to keep her under control. Only really like half the party were actually available to stop him, and he just disappeared. If all 5 of us had been functional,
Even they're kind of iffy.
but still,
Yeah.
odds would have been a lot better. So,
I was going to say, he
Big
got one over on you because you thought you had captured him. But it was
That's
his
true.
friend disguising himself.
Yeah.
And not through magical means, so you couldn't detect it that way.
boo earns, goddamn
There's lots of things.
disguise kits.
For me,
I'm trying to.
for me, when we were in, I think were we in Antioch? When we first came across Thimblefingers,
Mm.
we caught up to them the first time in Antioch, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing the chase, and someone casts heat metal on chainmail,
Mm.
allowing Thog to rip the chainmail off me, and me not having heavy armor for like 10 sessions
Yeah.
destroyed me. It made me horrible.
You should have taken a level of barbarian just to reflect your anger.
Yeah. But yeah, that is definitely something I now wish. If I had any inkling of how much trouble it was going to be to lose that chainmail, I would have gone, no, leave it, and just kept on going.
Mm.
I would have just tried to go through it.
You could have died though from
I could
the
have
fire
died.
damage.
I could have died from it, but
Is it a concentration spell?
yeah,
It
but
is,
the problem
but-
was
yeah.
we don't know who cast it. We now know it was I think Ash let it reveal to it afterwards. It was the belly dancer.
Hmm.
It was one of
Correct, yes.
Thimblefingers' companions, but we had no idea of knowing.
Yeah. So you can't
Um,
just randomly throw javelins at everyone within line of sight.
Just do
Well, you
just
could.
fireball. Fireball means that everyone gets affected, and we know
Yeah.
that it's fine. We're
Mhm.
good.
I mean, you
But yeah, it crippled Thalai for so long.
but like you absolutely couldn't have survived 20 d8 fire damage.
Well,
Not with that attitude.
no, it would have been the full 20 d8 because we
20.
thought because it was right before. It was pretty much just outside the tavern. So if we had gone into the tavern to follow, I would have been out of line of sight.
No,
That doesn't help.
that's not how that works. Like all I
Hmm.
have to do to get a spell to hit is see you. They can run away and maintain
No,
concentration.
they can't. They can't run away too far because of the way the spell works.
Oh, you
Run
might
away
need to
too
be within
far.
range to do the action to do further damage on the round.
Still within range.
Nope, it doesn't take an action. It's just as long as you are touching it, you take damage.
No. But for the caster to maintain the spell of it, they have to.
You have to use a bonus action on each of your subsequent turns.
Yeah, and they have to be within a certain.
It doesn't say they have to be within the
Ah.
distance.
They have
No,
to be
there's
within
no-
the size.
No range requirements whatsoever.
No range requirement.
That's
Yeah, it's
okay.
brutal.
It's
or
very
instead of
strong.
Or instead of him ripping it off, we should have just taken it off.
Which probably would have taken a minute.
Or more.
But then I still would have had to change shirt because of how that chainmail. Because
Yeah.
without that chainmail, I had no AC. I just
Mm.
died constantly, and then having the mage armor helped a little bit, but I was negating my fighting bonus, my fighting styles and stuff like that. I think it would have been better for me to try and see what happened if I kept it on, rather than just yank it off, because it just crippled me way too much in the first.
This is why Thalai should live with a backup suit of armor at all times now.
Or have that quick eject armor that basically just click gone.
No, aren't we fine now? Because all we need is like a pile of molten slag, and then Kovac can use fabricate.
No.
That-
I need to be proficient in the tools to make something as precise.
Armor, yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is I need to take the spell that gives people proficiency. I think that's one of the bard spells.
I spoke to Ash about that previously, and he just said no.
Okay.
The spell you're thinking of is called Borrowed Knowledge,
Yeah.
and it's good, but it would absolutely devalue all of the efforts being made by Kalan as to life. I can just turn around and like haphazardly slap together two spells and go, I can make an entire suit of armor in 10 minutes.
I am a 3D printer. Say goodbye, industrialized society.
What's that? We don't need to innovate as long as wizards reach this level and have fabricate?
I'm actually kind of surprised that Thalai hasn't gone the artificer route.
Perhaps mixing magic with it though.
Yeah.
Is that because his intelligence score is too low?
No, my intelligence score is high enough to multi-class. I have it.
Okay.
I think. No, my intelligence is 12. I have to have one more point in intelligence to multi-class. But I want to keep a monoclass. I don't want a monoclass.
That's
Okay.
fair.
He wants to go big.
Yeah, I want to be able to become really big when I go level 15, if we ever get that. And I've thought about it, but the only ways to make it worth it in taking dips in certain classes, in my opinion, like especially something like cleric or something, I'd be cutting out of what I actually want to do with the fighter class. So I don't want to dip out.
Although a cross between Tony Stark and Bruce Banner would be a pretty solid character.
Oh yeah,
It would
hands
be
down.
interesting, yes.
Oh yeah.
Big and armored.
Oh yeah, that is one thing I wish I now tried out to do a different way, because it just just fucked me over. And that's the choice.
Fair
Shout
enough.
out to Twitch.
Anybody
I've-
else?
Got a thought, but it's kind of a. I say it's a meta thing, but it's a bit different than your character. Like it's more of a me. Like going through it like we have, a part of me kind of slightly regrets taking a level in Rogue.
You had
At
that
the
from like
beginning.
the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Because like, it made sense for like backstory and having something a bit interesting going on there. But then, because I'm really bad at thinking forward, like where do I actually want to go with bits and pieces? I'm more thinking like as the here and now. So it's like there's like I'm a little bit just behind where I could be, and then to go into the thing, it's like I've set myself back a little bit right at the beginning. And it's like now I've had discussions about what path of Rogue would probably make the most sense. I don't use it a lot because I realize a lot of Rogue stuff is bonus action stuff. And in order for me to do Mr. Nibbles, I need my bonus actions.
Yeah.
So
the
it
actionable cuddle
kind
is
of
not
works, and it kind of works, and it doesn't work. I still like it because on the off chance I do the wild shape and I get my sneak from that and a few bits, because at the moment that's what it's there for. But it has made me rethink it a little bit. Like, should I have just stuck with pure druid? But this is a choice I've made.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Outside of that, they would be the usual thing of, I already mentioned it, of, tell your friends earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sort of situation, and never tell Mug.
Accidentally killing the gnome.
I knew that was coming.
That's
yes.
it! Accidentally killing the gnome, and then she hides her shame. No, that couldn't have ended any other way. She would definitely have hid her shame. That was the first that was the first time she'd killed someone.
And
She didn't know
was
what to do. She
by
panicked.
accident.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
an accident. Like, what else would you do other than hide the body?
Don't forget your roots, go steal something. Sorry, I just read that. I was like,
Yeah, no, but like, jokes aside about Nomicide, Storm had never killed anyone before that point. So, for her, it's hard because I'm like, I don't really regret anything that Storm's done, because everything she's done has been true to herself, and the outcomes have led to different circumstances, or circumstances that have led to other things, which then she's made different decisions about. So like, hard for me to be all like, oh, I wish this had been different or whatnot, because everything's kind of just sort of worked out the way it should, I guess, in a weird way. But definitely interesting playing a character who's more of a pacifist than like a murder hobo, because she's not out to kill anyone. She aims to knock people out. That's why she doesn't really use, like, she's now killed a few people, but realistically she was using a blunt weapon for 90% of the game up until this point, till she got her kitty claws, which she sparingly uses in and of itself, because of the fact that she still doesn't want to kill people. But fighting things like demons and stuff, she's starting to realize the claws come in handy.
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, like, Storm is so unapologetically herself. That's like, I've had a question posted to me in the past, like, if I could go back in time and change anything about myself, would I? And even though in my brain I'm like, well, I could have done that different, at the end of the day, the answer is no. Because then I wouldn't be the person I am today, and I like who I am today.
Yeah.
So it's like those sorts of things.
It's exactly like that. Storm is 100% true to herself. She will always do what Storm will do. The only time she has ever done what she wouldn't have naturally wanted to do was when they hid out and had a long rest instead of saving for life.
We all would have died at that point, though.
True, but her instinct would have been to go and try and save him anyway. You guys were the voice of reason for that, and she still feels terrible about it. But
It's alright, I only died, it's fine.
yeah, and she doesn't
He's
even
only
fucking
got
know
a
that.
You only got a sliver of something inside of you that we don't know anything about.
It's fine.
But like, me as a player, I don't think there's anything I would really change, because I feel like she has, like, everything that's happened has happened true to the character enough that I was like, you know what? I don't think there could have been anything different other than maybe dice rolls. But then the next circumstances wouldn't have happened. It's sort of like that sort of waterfall effect. Yeah, so I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the way things have gone out with, or come about with Storm.
Okay. Has anybody else not answered that question? Okay, I guess we're all good.
Alright, what's the next question then?
Mick, you have put forward a question that I think is a very interesting one.
Yes.
if your character dies, what race and class would you like to play? And just, I'm gonna have an addendum to this just to make it make sense in my brain, because we're nearing or at the point in the campaign where if you die, we're not that far from a revivify or a raise dead being possible. So
Get me some fucking diamonds.
I'd say that for this question to make the most sense in my brain, it's if your character dies and can't be brought back.
Yes.
Because building a character to play in the interim is a lot different from building like your new character who you're gonna be playing from now on. Yeah.
I'll go first because I already have my answer. And as much as it would be, I already have mine.
I know the race.
Yep. And I would like to, and a little bit for the meme, but I've wanted to play this combination for quite some time. But I would like to play a gnome artificer.
Just be careful in the outhouse.
Yes, I will have to be careful around Storm at all times.
Yep.
But,
And, no, not really necessarily Storm, it's Kit.
But
Yeah.
I've always liked the idea of playing a character. I've done it once in a single Pathfinder game, but I always like the idea of playing a character who pushes forward the boundaries of gunpowder weaponry. And I would like to play. The idea is I would play this gnome who joined the Xel'nari, so he wouldn't be an auxiliary attachment like Mug is. He would be a long-serving member of the Xel'nari. And the idea is that he joined the Xel'nari because back in the day when he was doing his experiments, somebody went in while he was out and sabotaged his laboratory, killing his son, his wife, and leaving him also permanently damaged with gunpowder burns across his face. And he joined the Xel'nari because he believed that the Xel'nari would be able to help him find justice for what happened. It hasn't happened yet, but he nonetheless doesn't regret the choice he made in joining the Xel'nari and trying to help others. And he's this eccentric old gnome who is fascinated with the musket that he's got, riding around on his because what is the subclass? It's the one that gets the metal
Artillerist?
No, it's the one that gets the metal defender companion.
The battlesmith?
Yeah, the battlesmith. And he would be riding around on his metallic dog because it's a medium-sized creature and he's a small creature, and just going around exploring, doing good deeds on behalf of the Xel'nari and just trying to find out what happened and just trying to push the boundaries forward in industrialization. And
For some reason, I picture him as a rootin' tootin' mini shooting cowboy.
No, but he's very much he's got the shock white hair. His hands are considerably filthy because it's always inside like a tinkering with something. He's fidgety, he's eccentric, and he's just like, he likes to yarn on and talk about like all he's done or what he wants to do next, and he just doesn't know when to shut up. And it'd be a very different type of character to play than the Lie, because the Lie is very stoic, up in your face person who doesn't really want to say much, whereas this other person he will overshare, overindulge, and he's very, very much very bright and very wants to change the world kind of thing.
So if we wanted to punish both of them, we'd lock them in a room together?
Oh, absolutely.
And then get Kalan to play out both roles for half an hour.
Yeah. See, in my head, when you were talking about him, all I could think of was, "Do you want some gunpowder?"
Yes, actually, very, very much Victor. He would also be missing his pinky on one of his hands. But yeah, very, very much Victor, the gunpowder merchant from Critical Role.
With a musket.
But actually uses the gunpowder and not that crazy.
Yeah. I have an answer, unless anyone else wants to go first.
I also have an answer, but I'm good.
You can go first, Zoe. Go on.
Oh, okay. Well, as soon as this question was posed, I turned my attention to D&D Beyond and went, oh yes, I have 9 backup characters.
Oh my god, of course you do.
Of course.
For those that are
like 10, it's fine.
For those that are newer to D&D, the hobby of making up D&D characters and the hobby of playing D&D characters, while related, are not the same hobby.
So, I think given where we are in the campaign and kind of what's been going on, a lot of the characters I built, I would love to play out like from the beginning of a campaign, just because I think that would be really interesting. One of the ones I have that wouldn't really meet that requirement, and the one that I've kind of had the longest, is a Minotaur Barbarian. So basically, if Thalai and Kovek die tragically, Zoe and Kalan are swapping party roles.
I just think it's so you're going to a different type of horny.
Oh my god.
Are you guys familiar
Ironic for
with the
Has an orcish smart book instead of elvish.
No. So,
It's a flip book.
So, are you familiar with the breed of cows from Scotland, specifically called Highland cows?
Are they the really hairy ones?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Long, shaggy ginger hair. So she would be
the hippie cows.
A Highland coo.
She would be a Highland coo. What is it? Path of the Ancients. Barbarian. So she has a connection to like the spiritual ancestors of her past and can call them forward to like intercede on the battlefield. But she also has a quirk which was inspired by my housemate. She likes making things out of wool. And
Cute.
And what's interesting is the most ready and convenient supply of wool in any given place is herself. So as she's traveling, she'll just be like pulling tufts of wool off her coat, and like it's so thick, she's never like cold or in a bad situation. But she'll just like pull off tufts of wool and we'll be like turning
She
it into
could needle
thread
felt.
and be knitting. She could definitely needle felt. So basically, she would absolutely have like big protective mum energy, and would basically just like over the course of the campaign be like making people scarves and jumpers and things.
So 6 months in, we're sitting around a campfire with all of us in like these ginger blankets.
Blanket sweaters with our like initial written
Like
down each individually.
That is absolutely her energy. So she'd come in and would be the mum of the party and just make sure that everybody was okay. And I think that would be really, really fun to play, especially when something goes wrong and someone like tries to hurt you. She'd enter full mum rage and be like, "Don't you hurt my kids!"
She's just
Hey,
the way
don't have a cow, man.
Yeah. Oh, we hate it.
Right, so actually what you're saying is that when like there's a threat to us, the stakes are very high.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. It's been a lovely conversation.
Oh, it's so bad.
Bad
Anyway.
cow puns.
Who's next?
Odie said they had one.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
I've
had one,
had one. I've had one from the get-go, and I actually spoke to Ash about this. So, this is a character that I have remade constantly through various role plays. Her name is Haven. She's ever so wonderfully lovely.
Ooh.
Basically, she. For anyone who's watched Doctor Who, Missy. I was basically want to
You'd have
play.
to elaborate for the rest of us if you would.
So basically, she's delightful. She's debonair. She's a bit devious.
She's definitely
She doesn't
pure
fit the
evil.
Xel'nari in the slightest, because here's the thing. She's trying to be a reformed criminal, so she's doing community service.
So
And you guys are her keeper, basically.
Missy, from Doctor Who, is when the long-time villain of Doctor Who, the Master, regenerates, but their form is female.
Yes.
So
She's very sassy
So-
and
so,
very
like-
oh, I didn't mean to kill that entire village. It
Mhm.
just happened.
so
I was
so-
merely an observer
yeah.
with gasoline.
yeah, so Master, Mistress, Missy.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I'm gonna be an ever such a good girl now. What's that kerosene doing? Absolutely nothing now. Like there are little
Explosion in the
things
background.
I'm doing that are like, so it's kind of like not chaos. It's like lawful evil to a degree. Like I may be doing nasty things, but it's for the benefit of all, darling. I'm doing it under the law. I don't know what you're thinking, but yeah, basically
So-
reformed, being forced to reform criminal because it gets her away from harder sentencing time. So she's just, yeah,
She's
You-
gaslighting in human form.
gaslight girl boss gatekeep.
Wow. All right then.
Audio,
But yeah, she-
just
she-
out of principle.
So and she would have been a shadow sorcerer. Or some form of sorcerer. Hands down. I haven't really played a sorcerer before. I have already remade her. I've made her in D&D twice now. Once she was a druid, who then went warlock. She's also either a tiefling or some form of elf. That's how I usually kind of in D&D terms that I've made her in. Also, like when I first ever made her as a roleplay thing, I wanted to. We had to use face claims from animes and various things. So if you've ever seen Soul Eater, and you know who Arachne is, I'll put a post up about her later. But basically, tall woman, slightly curvaceous, very much like lounge singer-esque, sultry sort of looks to her. She'll using her charisma and her wiles to get what she wants. She won't give anyone what they want, but she gets what she wants. Like, you can look, darling, but no, you can't afford.
That's so evil.
Divination
her.
Wizard could be cool for that as well. A very a different spin.
Also, Divination Wizard. I do currently have her in another campaign, the Strixhaven one. I set her as a chronomancy.
Ooh, very strong.
And she's a winged tiefling in that, but that's a whole other story
Yeah,
about that version of her. But yeah, so that was my backup character idea.
What about you, Ellis?
I would probably also do something similar to Zoe. Just either revive a character that didn't get to be played in a previous campaign, or play one that I created and just had on the side. One of them that would be really interesting to play in this campaign, I think, would be Malice. Otherwise known as M471-C3, who is in fact an Warforged artificer. Who was essentially made for war, except there was no war anymore, so was serving an artificer as their personal butler. And when their creator finally passes away, they have nothing to do. They don't know what to do, so they go adventuring. But technically, they were a war machine who became a glorified butler.
No.
Combat Butler is a cool trope.
I do
and
love Combat
has
Butler.
no idea and or understanding of how like emotions and things work because they're a robot or they're a machine, and they've
Yep.
only ever had the interactions with this one person, which was a dwarf artificer.
So you're Kovac. I'm joking.
No, because they
There are
generally
too many jokes at Kovac
No.
aspects. I'm sorry.
This
They-
Malice has successfully made a connection to one other living being.
Oh,
creator.
Kovac.
Okay, no. Let's give Kovac some credit here. She has more emotion in herself than Malice does. Malice is a very emotionless creature. Like,
Yeah.
and the adventure, or the goal for me as playing that character would be to slowly become more human, because that's what the Warforged do. They're very genderless and generic and very robot when they first start out, and then as they experience more of the world and become and discover who they are, they start to change their outer appearance and become a being, like an individual being, but otherwise they're sort of just a forged soldier.
So like Pim.
Start with the
Very
tongue.
much like Pim, yeah. So I'd love to play
No
Malice.
tongue.
Either that or maybe bring back my Eladrin, which Ash would know all about. But maybe we don't need another unstable character like Storm. Yeah, she was an Eladrin who was swayed by her emotions, and they changed her season.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
Those are the
Eladrin are-
ideas that you get.
Really cool.
Also an artificer.
Also an artificer. The
So
other,
many
the-
Just a team of artificers. We get one alchemist, one battlesmith, one artillerist. We're fine.
And one Tony Stark.
And one Tony.
Sorry, armorer.
Oh.
But yeah, that was my. I'd love to be able to play Malice one day because I didn't really get to play them very much. They're still level 1.
The one that I'd actually my primary backup character is one that if I do play, I'd like for the party to meet in game and react to in game. They're a street kid. They're a street kid urchin. Which, as you can imagine, as a presumably like level 8 street kid, they're going to have some funky shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the world experience of a messed up street kid. So that, I think, will be an interesting one to kind of prod some of the outlooks of the party. But I also had an idea for a Eladrin fighter, either a archer or a sword duelist, but definitely leaning heavily on the changing of the seasons and the personalities. And
That was my favorite part about the Eladrin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking at it as it's kind of adjacent to elements of mental illness.
That's
And so-
yeah.
And so looking at it from that perspective where it's like like for other people, it's kind of like learning to deal with someone who has elements in their life that they can't control.
So when I played my Eladrin, I had something similar depending on the events that happened in the world. If they were big enough to cause her to have an incredibly intense emotion take over her form, the next morning she would wake up and be of that season. And it was something that she couldn't really control.
Yeah.
It does make for a really, really fun and interesting way of playing a character.
Like there was in the second ed D&D in the Dark Sun world, there were a race of half giants, which had an amazing thing with their alignment. You choose one axis of your alignment to be fixed, and the other one is random per day. So you could be good, but you'll change between lawful good, neutral good, and chaotic good. Or, for example, you could be lawful, and you're always lawful, but you change between lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil. And so you got that sort of thing where part of your personality is fixed, part of it shifts and changes and adapts and that. And yeah, similar thing where that's an interesting way to interact with the world.
Character I would bring
If you ever get to
be-
play.
would be actually the origin of Tarzi, the character that she's actually based off. Is a pixie artificer. I know there's a lot of artificers.
You told me. Yeah.
Who lost her wings and actually manufactured her own wings to be able to fly again.
I hate you, man.
Now I'm just not gonna play that character because the puns will be.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There is one other race that I would love to play on this stream because I think it'd be hilarious. Kenku.
Yes.
Ah,
That'd be
yes,
pretty
but also
funny.
that would be irritating. But yes, if you could get a soundboard
Oh,
with things, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to accurately remember like all the
yeah.
phrases.
Yeah. Actually, that'd be a hilarious thing. If Mug dies, I'll play a Kenku just so you have motivation to revive him.
It's true. Oh, I just remembered another character. I wouldn't mind bringing back. This will be the last one from me. So their name was Pretzel. They were a fairy, fairy cleric of light. This was way back before fairies were actually released in D&D. We were playing Curse of Strahd, and I made Pretzel, who was like just wandered around and was very tiny and didn't understand social concept. Basically, the storm of fairies. Like they came from a different world. They found a red-headed lady which they liked, and was like, "I talk like this, and I'm very small and I." It would get very annoying.
See, if I played Malice, it would be the complete opposite of Storm. It'd be like, it's like, I'm here to serve today. What can I do for you?
Yeah,
Like,
I love it.
completely different. It's like,
The vibes would be different.
yeah, it'd be much more deadpan, much more, I'm here to serve. You are my charge. I need to protect.
I love the ideas.
That'd be interesting.
Shall we now go to
Oh.
the next question? which
Yes.
is-
I'm just gonna get a drink and check on my child because she's screaming, and by that I mean my cat. For anyone who
All good.
which is
back in a
from
bit.
Ash. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
very
Ooh,
interesting.
ooh,
I'm gonna wait to hear the question first.
Alright, what would your character have done if they were not able to join the Xel'nari?
Die. Hands down. I just die. Cool. No, I'll think about the answer and I'll back in the next bit.
That's a weird meta question for Mug.
Yes. He has not technically joined him.
If I haven't signed a contract to be a private military contractor working for the CIA, it makes it sound really dubious. We've already overthrown one government and supported another regime change.
Wait,
Yeah.
which government did we overthrow again?
The Tabaxi.
We didn't overthrow it. The priesthood is still in charge.
Our presence precipitated a regime change.
That is true.
This is very
No.
It's
We-
okay. Storm's goal was always to go fuck you monks. Let the people have their
we-
freedom.
But not necessarily. All we did was shake their core religious belief. I wouldn't say it's necessarily...
Oh yeah, just
not just
casually.
their religious
Okay.
belief, their entire knowledge of the universe around them.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
saying
fine.
we did it deliberately, but we sure as hell did do it.
And what was the other thing that we've supposedly done?
Supported a rebellion or a
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
the demo.
the-
revolutionaries, the demo.
Yes, the princess.
So yeah, like we are kind of the CIA.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, what would your character have done if they were not able to join the Xel'nari? Well, in the case of the lie, it'd be very simple. He'd still be amongst his people. Probably would have taken up crafting amongst his people, being some kind of crafter. Probably at this point would be married.
I actually imagine that he may have moved to Tanzanite as a blacksmith.
I don't know, because the lie was very comfortable in the mountains, and he didn't really have the curiosity of the world until he actually left the mountains. So unless there was something
That's
to
fair.
actually push him out of the mountains, he probably would have stayed within the mountains. If he was ever curious, he might, meet the traders face to face and maybe ask questions and stuff like that. But I feel like he would have stayed within the mountains. He'd probably be at this point. He'd be married, probably have a child of his own at this point. Yeah, and he just would have crafted, being the clan crafter, blacksmithing, jewelry, that sort of thing.
Can you imagine a 5-year-old Goliath that has levels in Rune Knight and becomes like 8 foot tall?
I am not going to my room.
Then you yourself as the dad also doubles his eyes and go, "You'll do as you're told."
Good, Papa.
No, you use your fire rune to have those chains drag him back to bed.
Oh,
Sure, because that isn't child abuse at all.
Hey,
No.
amongst the Goliaths, no, that would not be child abuse.
Hmm.
It's very much.
How do you think they get to level 3?
or maybe that's his wife's kink, having an enlarged man.
So
We can only do it when you're big. That's it. Nothing else.
All right,
Wow.
you've got how long? 1 minute?
That's enough.
that's
Oh, God.
That's all I need.
So,
Sorry, yes, we've
but yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
the lie would have settled down,
Hmm.
and we probably would have at least started racing at this point,
Hmm.
and be ready to die in like 10, 15 years
Hello, sweetie pea.
on like some kind of hunt or something. I don't know, but yeah, he would have just stayed with the clan and just been a crime amongst them.
like, for Kovac, interestingly, she has, like, she would have had a few options. So, she left the town guard to join the Xel'nari. She could have stayed in the town guard after being turned down and potentially tried to advance her career in that arena. Perhaps work towards sergeant, lieutenant, captain, get her own post, things like that. She could have also just like dropped out of the town guard and began to work with her father as a scribe in the castle of Tanzanite, because she learned all the skills and all that jazz. She could have began. Actually, you know what? She wouldn't have begun working with her mother because she doesn't share the like artistic flair that her mother does and applies to her artificing. She also could, like, Ash, I feel like you mentioned this, that Tanzanite has a repository for magical knowledge and teaching.
Mhm.
What's that called again?
Are you saying
Well,
Kovac might become a librarian? Might have become a librarian.
I mean,
I don't have it here with me, unfortunately, so I can't remember what we
Okay.
called it.
yes, she might have joined that august institution and become a librarian, yes. A very strict librarian because of all her experience in the town guard.
So this is kind of a weird one for Storm, because this would imply that either Barda never came to her island or she let Barda die, so she never left her island. Meaning that she would have become a monk. She would have just become another monk of her people and probably aimed to completely change the way that the monks function. She absolutely under no circumstances was going to continue with their backward ways. She hated it. And maybe she might have eventually become the Whisperer. Or the Speaker, rather. Naturally, right? Instead of the sort of the weird way that it came about this way. Alternatively, she saved Barda, blah, 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 went back to the Xel'nari, and they didn't accept her as part of the Xel'nari. She probably just would have continued to study her monk ways as best she knew, and either worked in the kitchen there, or got on her own little adventures anyway, just not under the name of the Xel'nari. Yeah, she's a bit of a simple one.
I think for Mug, not to dismiss the wonderful people that are in this party, but he probably would have found someone else to go adventuring with.
That makes sense.
So
It's sort of in
would
his
have-
nature.
yeah, like would have been someone that you met on your travels, and then if it went off, would have kept going around doing kind of stupid things that he found funny until someone else found things funny the same way and buddied up with them and went off and did stupid things in a group. I think the funnier thing would be if Mug was, to flip the question, is if Mug was actually sent to the Xel'nari and joined you from training,
Mm.
Ooh.
would Mug still have his sort of free spirit, and or would he have taken things a bit more seriously, or if he was, yeah, don't know. That's a hard one to tell.
Well, that depends. Would Mug have been sent, as you said, or volunteered to go?
Probably neither.
That tracks.
Yeah, okay.
So, also, it's really weird when, like, after graduating, people are still teenagers, so the Xel'nari are training child soldiers. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm 45! Damn!
Yeah, you're an outlier.
Because the age of adulthood in that era was different.
Yeah, but especially when it's like you're starting to accept people into training when they are still juvenile amongst their own culture, and you're giving them weapon training and these sorts of things, then it makes it a little bit weird where you go, hang on a minute, are you indoctrinating them into a certain philosophy? Are you getting them young so that you can indoctrinate them, or is this just,
Just
where does
process.
it,
Well,
It's like child soldiers back in the day. Again, different places, different times, because magic exists as well. You got to make sure people know how to use it properly.
They
Like-
also don't go out seeking people. People come to them and apply, and they accept people of all ages.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Essentially.
weird if one of your high school electives is battlefield tactics and sword fighting and, like, fire magic.
I would have loved that in high school.
Gotcha.
See, for Storm, that was just her new home.
Hmm.
So the thing is, like, she wouldn't have started straight away as a member of the Xel'nari. She would have gone there with Barda to be healed. Realistically, she would have taken her there to recuperate. But Storm would have just naturally snuck into classes out of curiosity. And eventually Barda would have been like, we have to enroll this kid because, let's be honest, she's gonna be doing it anyway. She lives here. Like, we might as well. She's a very skilled fighter. Because when she joined the Xel'nari, she'd already had, from basically childhood, like as early as she can remember, training as a monk. So she was already proficient as a fighter and in her magical ability. Not that anyone really realized she had any. So there kind of wasn't really much other way other than if she hadn't have encountered Barda. That's the only way things really would have turned out significantly different.
Yeah. Right. It is getting on a little bit, so let's have this one be our last question, okay?
Sounds good, because I need to be up at 4 a.m. tomorrow.
I was gonna
damn,
say
okay.
I haven't answered the question yet.
Oh, you
but
haven't?
okay.
Yeah, okay.
I went away. Basically, I'll try and make it quick because my child wants to come in the room. I have a feeling that Sam and Sam would have probably gone through as much of their father's bullshit as they could take until Samantha couldn't take it anymore, left, which would have sullied the family's name, like literally outrageously, publicly, like left, and then more than likely would have become some form of like Robin
Crazy cat
Hood.
lady?
No, like Robin Hood
Oh.
type thing. So it might have actually
Vigilante.
become someone that the Xel'nari would have had to deal with.
Can we
Because she would have been
please-
disrupting her
I was gonna say,
father's.
so a few more levels in Rogue.
Yeah,
we please
she-
have
we
the
would have,
story
we would
of
have gone
Robina
like more
Hood?
rogue. enough druids to get some magic in, but mostly rogue, disrupting merchants or anyone that she deemed corrupt. But more than likely would have had to bring the Xel'nari's eye upon her for that.
Hey, Ash,
but it's still disruption.
Mm.
this can still happen. There's a younger Weatherby sibling.
Fun fact, that main reason why the younger sibling exists is because Sam was going off to the Xel'nari. The other one would have been leaving the house at some point, so someone to keep the mother occupied.
Messed up.
But he's a boy, so, and also the backup. So he's like 1 year older than the amount of time that I've been with the Xel'nari.
Oh, so yeah.
Like 4 or 5 years old.
Little Theodore. Because me and the naming convention in our family is weird. Like my father has what was that? Is it R? Yeah, his name begins with an R. Our names begin with an S. Then the next one begins with a T. It's how the naming convention's gone so far throughout these years. Doesn't mean we like it. But, yeah. That's why we both Samantha and Samuel, because it was easier for our father.
Of course.
And little Theodore.
Okay.
Little Teddy.
Last question for the evening, something that I do think is quite interesting to think about. What is something that you and your character have in common?
I like to be a nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
In
I
an
hate this
entire,
question.
not a real answer, but for the joke, a criminal record.
Oh, both of us don't have a great relationship with our father.
Oh. Well, to be fair, my daddy ain't no genie god, so not that.
I mean, he's a genie on the computer.
That's true. He's more a wizard, but you know.
I think for Mug, I've got a similar sense of humor at the somewhat at the absurdity, but also I think Mug is what I would like to be more confident to be able to do. To express art and self and interact with people without fearing the consequences. I think is something that it's me times 5 or times 10.
Interesting. For Kovac, there is an interesting one that I kind of realized that sort of came to my mind in part as I was playing it out, and also in part after I found a song that I think really articulated the feeling. So the song is called "She" by Doddle, so Dodle. Basically, I feel like I am weirdly enough having a bit of queer therapy in the campaign because I'm asexual. I have no real desire to engage in like a romantic or sexual relationship with someone, and it's interesting that I've had the opportunity to play out that kind of experience in this game, because it's like Kovac's kind of indifference and lack of emotion could easily be equated to like a kind of distance in a relationship. If I don't know how to effectively connect with someone on a romantic level in a relationship, then how could we really function together as a couple? So playing that out has actually been very interesting and enlightening, and like trying to think about how that would go. Like there's this one part of the song, like it sings about, like, hang on, looking for the lyrics. It was like, and I'll be okay admiring from afar, because even when she's next to me, we could not be more far apart. And she tastes like birthday cake and story time and fall, but to her I taste of nothing at all. It's kind of like, how do we do that? How do we do that? Yeah, so
It's a disconnect.
yeah, it's a bit of a
Yeah.
disconnect. So that was something interesting to kind of feel out because part of me has known I've been ace for a long time, but I've never actually put much thought into the feelings behind it and what it would be if I were in a relationship. So yeah, that's something that I share with Kovac.
Valid.
There is something to be said for role playing as art.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because no matter what you do, each character you ever make always
piece
has a
of
little
you.
something
Yeah.
on you somewhere.
Yeah.
Even if it's one of those that you play an evil character and you get to kind of maybe go into the slightly darker stuff, or as long as you don't go too far. There's always an element like innocence, curiosity, daftness. Like all of these bits, there's always a little bit of you somewhere because that's how you are able to then understand how they then go through what they go through.
It's how you
You
learn
do
how to play the
feel
character. Where
exactly.
you draw
I
that
know.
emotion from, those ideas from, and
Yeah.
you've got to have a basis where you pull that from.
If any of you are curious, I've just sent the link to that song to our chat because basically this song is a very apt example of how Kovac feels about Tyr. And it's part of why I wanted to put together the whole like playlist thing because I found this song and another one and I went, maybe I can keep finding some cool songs.
Maybe
Yeah,
you want to
why-
share that
why
in
is this
the Twitch to the Switch chat as well.
Does
I
it
can do
allow
that.
links?
It might not. So I'll put it in a more public part of the Discord. So if
Good.
people want to find it there,
Awesome.
I'll put it in the where should I put it?
To pull something a little bit less in depth or meaningful, I have two words between me and Storm. Gremlin energy.
Oh yeah.
Same about me and Sam. Gremlin energy. We're just like I'm gonna call a little bit of chaos.
That chaos, that the desire for fun and just goofiness and silliness and just I don't know. There's a lot of myself in Storm, to be perfectly honest. Her desire to want to do good and help people and make the world a better place. But her way of going about it isn't always considered orthodox or couth. And her perspective of the world is incredibly different to that of everyone around her. And I feel like they're very much things that I feel about myself as well. And that I kind of inherently partake in or feel or like am just in my everyday, especially the chaos energy, the gremlin. Just like there's a lot of aspects to her that I don't know, there's just something about like when I was making her character that I just felt really connected. I was just like, this is me as this character almost, in a lot of ways. It was not intentional. I didn't technically design her like that. She was a very clinically designed character, to be perfectly honest. When I made her, I was like, I want these mechanics, I want these like races and these classes for these reasons, and I think this would be a cool story, right?
I just thought you went with the term crazy cat lady and took it way too far.
You like crazy cat lady stuff at the moment, don't you? That's like the second, third time you brought it up this game.
But like, no, like genuinely, you can ask Ash. I was like, I want to play a Tabaxi. You know what? I want to be a fucking monk.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. You know what? Let's make her a Genasi. Can I be a Genasi cat lady thing? And it was just like a like purely mechanical story build kind of thing. I didn't really technically have much connection to it. And then when I was giving her a personality, it fell into that because it fit the story, and I was just like, I relate to this a lot more than I thought I would, you know. And I just ended up finding myself fitting into that really well.
That is one of the things that when it comes to role playing, you always think you've got like a preset idea of how the character will act or do or say, but until you start talking and actually being the character, you've got no fucking clue where it's gonna go.
You find the voice in the action.
Yeah,
do.
which is why you end up like that's why like I don't know about other people, but for us we had a few session zeros, which was pre-stream, pre-campaign. It was just like one or two.
Pre-chaos.
Yeah, it was like 1 or 2 sessions of just like the characters before they graduated, and they were meaningless, nonsensical. They weren't even considered technically canon. It was just us.
Dragon.
It was just us. Well, we've decided they're canon.
Yeah.
But we.
I still have a magic item from those.
Yeah, so we kind of just use that to like develop and get a solid idea and feel for our characters before we like full on went into our campaign and our playthrough.
I've actually got part of Mug that dropped off during play. I was originally going to have the kind of the sad clown trope, where he makes everyone else laugh and everyone else happy and that, but he's sort of sad on the inside. Then I realized, hang on, that means I'd have to get into the mindset of like a depressed person who's just trying to make other people laugh, and go, I don't need that in my hobby. I've got enough of that in real life. Like I can.
Yeah.
And
Let's
so
play
it sort of
something a little
naturally
different,
evolved. Yeah, it evolved away from where it was starting, and it just naturally went. I don't need to have that layer to have a cool, interesting character. I can still move along with other bits.
I think you kind of grow to know your character better too the more you play them. The more you explore them as a character you play, like as like the more you become the character or play the character as a situational experience, the more you start to learn about that character, because you don't know how they're going to react in a situation until you put yourself there and go, oh, this is what my character would do. Oh.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
And
you get that feeling. It's like, oh, this is way darker. And I was thinking, like, this is actually affecting me. Like, that singular moment when Kovac, like, I didn't expect this to happen. When Kovac was actually going with Tia and Sam got jealous. I did not expect that to happen in the slightest. Like, because, like, Sam doesn't understand what's going on with them. And there was me also being like, I'm not quite sure what this is. Is this, like, is Sam gaining affection for Kovac? Or I mean, it ended up being like, no, it's Sam's finally decided to open up and give themselves a deep connection to someone else, like listening in their secrets. And now this person's, I want to be around this person all the time because they know, and I find comfort in that. But now they're going off and doing this with someone else, and there's me alone again. And it's like, I don't understand that's why that was that weird, like, passive aggressive thing from Sam at that period of time.
I
It was very
absolutely
small.
Yeah, I absolutely understand the emotional support blanket friend, especially when you've revealed something quite large about yourself. I had
that's
a
what it was.
Back in the day when I was first coming out to people. So, yeah, for sure, it's a thing.
Yeah, we understand that. So that's literally what that was, and I did not expect that to happen until it happened. I'm like, ha.
There's a lot of moments with Storm that I don't know what's going to happen until it happans. I can't.
Like all of them.
I can't predict Storm. I can't because
No one can predict a storm.
genuinely until the moment comes across, it doesn't like hit me. This is what Storm will do, and sometimes I'm like, this is what Storm will do. This is what we're doing.
Yep.
Like for instance,
We don't do it because we want to cause the chaos. It's just
that is the case. It just is that is what it is. Like the books in Barda's room, drawing the little outfits for all the people, and putting them in the book. Like that to Storm was a really, really like, yes, it was a practical joke, but it actually had a lot of significance and meaning to her, as this was a way of her sharing her joy and fun and silliness, trying to lighten the mood, try and make a more interesting situation, I guess, and just like bring a bit of like nonsensical joy to the life of someone she cared about, right? And it was interesting how upset Storm got when Kovac entered that environment and like started fixing the books, and like I was just like, shit, I didn't expect her to get so upset. And like the comment that Storm made about, well, you know, she said something like, she like threw some shade out there, like, well, I just wanted to have some fun with my maternal figure because I don't have a mother, you know, or some like she pulled some like really like backhanded guilt trip on Kovac in that
It was
situation.
really bratty.
Yeah, it was really bratty. I was like, damn. Oh, damn. You know, like that's not a moment I could ever have planned for Storm. It just unraveled that way.
That actually did remind me of a thing where a while back I was saying to Zoe that Kovac and Mug were kind of starting to make some of the, not decisions, but were stepping up a little bit to keep things on track. And it kind of looked like Kovac was taking the fatherly figure and Mug was taking the motherly figure. Like, Kovac was the stern disciplinarian and Mug was being more supportive, sort of thing, which I thought was a really nice touch, that the big half-orc sort of thing was like, oh no, it's fine, we just need to...
But I will have you know that that moment there where Storm blew up at Kovac was probably the first moment where she started to actually open up to Kovac.
I think it probably helped that Kovac. I mean, the reason Kovac went back is because she needed you to sign a document. But then it was okay. I see emotional compromise. Like, her emotions are compromised. I suspect I will need to fix this to get her to cooperate with me. So I made all
Cat,
the like.
Cat is broken, must fix Cat, then can do task.
Yeah.
Yep.
I made all the little I like paper outfits dance and had them cast shadows on the walls. I
And
think.
it was
Yeah.
it was really sweet because Kovac tried to capture Storm's vision, so to speak, her perspective of fun, and project that back to her to try and apologize, which was actually really sweet. And that's actually the point in which Storm started to actually respect and trust Kovac. Like as much shade as she gives Kovac, because she doesn't agree with some of her morals and her thought processes, she definitely
Take the book. Just take the book. No one's using the book.
Yeah. She definitely at that point started to accept Kovac more as a closer companion rather than just a not colleague, not quite colleague, like you know what I mean.
Yeah. Teammate.
Teammate,
yeah.
yeah, just a party member, just another person on the
Yeah.
job.
Like, we've all had moments like that, I think. Like that's one of the things. If you're doing a short campaign, you don't always tend to get these types of interactions. But we know this is going to be a long-standing campaign, and we all start going into small bits like this that we don't always expect. We don't find necessarily comfortable. Well, not like uncomfortable, but you get what I mean. Like, we're going a little bit like, ooh, this is a bit.
I'm scarred
But
forever from
obviously-
the daddy jokes.
Yeah.
Alright,
But then
Hi, puppy.
Yes, Papa.
Even worse than that, like when Kovac messed up with the instrument and the fire got all ruined and Storm blew up at Kovac, and just like something she said in that, Kovac just like she began to cry and ran away.
Oh, yeah.
And then like Sam of all people, she turned into a cat and was all like, "Hello, yes, I'm a cat." And Kovac like picked up the kitty and started petting Kitty Sam.
Yep, all of these little things. But like, I'm hoping that we're all comfortable enough to just double check in with each other if we think like there was like one section when I was like talking to Kovac about like how Sam was currently feeling about Thalai, because Thalai was doing the whole thing of like, I'm doing this for the Xel'nari, and that's all I'm doing it for. And like, there never seemed to be a personal connection. There were obviously sometimes where there was a personal connection, but like when it came to these matters, this was something like very, very personal for Sam for them to go and do, and it seemed like it was doing nothing but bother Thalai. And it's just like there's been little check-ins. Like Thalai is doing this just merely out of course instead of wanting to do it or being there for Sam. Was how Sam felt. Yeah.
Go on. Did we ask you what you and Thalai have in common, or have we just been like...
Oh shit!
yapping away?
Sorry.
We got so caught up I'm so sorry.
I did try to interject a couple of times. Like, that's all right.
So
You guys
sorry.
are
Sorry.
You should have just yelled at us, man.
We're loud. Please interrupt us.
You guys are in a really good flow. Besides, it gave me plenty of time to actually think about it. Because
Yeah.
well, I don't like to play characters that are like me. I like to try and do something different. So I had to think for a moment about what the lion and I have in common, and I realized we're both stubborn. If I get a belief, and I'm really convinced that belief is the right thing, or that this should be the thing this is the way it should be done, I can be extremely stubborn to a fault about it. As any of my friends would tell you guys, like, I can be sometimes too stubborn, and it can sometimes take me take a ridiculous amount to shift me. Sometimes I'll
I know
shift.
what you're talking about.
And well, the
It's
lie
alright,
is
Ash. At least you can just pick him up.
Yep.
the lie is also extremely stubborn. So and very, very convinced about being loyal and that. And I don't know if anyone in the party has actually managed to change a lot of his core beliefs. There's been a bit of a softening and smoothing out of the lie, but some of the stuff he very surely believes in has not changed.
Mental note: write poem for Thalai.
It's so effective.
No, we just modify memory Thalai to make him think he actually has feelings. It's, it's fine.
Oh,
That's. Oof.
I mean,
But you can only modify up to a day.
fix
it.
That's
We
a,
can
Only
fix
a
you.
10-minute block, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
yeah.
So,
what 10-minute block would you insert in my memory to make me have feelings? That's
birth.
Feelings.
Come on, just as a bit of a follow-up question to that.
Oh,
As you, like, from the perspective of someone playing out that character, is the reason that you put the stubbornness trait into Thalai as the person making the character because it was an easy thing for you as a person to fall back on, or because you thought it made sense for the character?
I feel like it more made sense for the character. Like, obviously, me having personal experience with it has been a great boon, but because it's very easy to relate, and thus it makes it more easy to roleplay. But no, I did that because I thought it suited the character.
Thalai is strong like mountain, has personality like mountain.
Pretty much, yeah.
Has dick like mountain.
Well, we don't know because somebody keeps
Second
censoring
pointy.
it.
What?
Someone keeps censoring it. That's a good point.
Yes. Oh,
If I wanted to see if I wanted to see a penis, I would be straight.
That's why I'm gay.
But yeah, it also because we're talking about interesting character traits and things like that, and I think one of the interesting things about the lie is the lie was also a character I decided to experiment with playing someone who they're not. Because I know I talked about it previously in his previous life, he would have got married and family, but he would have been doing that more out of obligation to the clan than personal feelings. Because the lie I'm experimenting with is playing as someone who's not aromantic, I think is the phrase per se. Because I'm very much a cis man, very straight, very
Joking.
but so this is very much it's a different. I thought I'd try a different experimentation of trying someone with a different type of sexuality or lack of sexuality, I guess is the more appropriate term in this case with Thalai is a character for the first time in any role-playing game I played where they are not interested in visiting brothels to have some fun or chasing tail or getting into like romantic entanglements and such. It's
Seducing tieflings.
ignoring this.
You guys, come on!
see,
Hey,
the thing
it's
is
all right,
that
Zoe, it's okay because the tieflings were also trying to seduce me, so it's okay. Well, their
The-
sister was trying to seduce me.
Yeah. Big fighty man hit good, me likey.
so Storm's
yeah,
in a very
and it goes
similar
straight
way.
over his head.
No, yeah.
Storm's in a very similar position where she's actually not really had the opportunity to even think about that as a possibility in her life so far. Because monks, raised to be like, basically fight under a very strict regime, blah blah blah. By the time she was maybe possibly old enough to like start paying attention to that kind of stuff, she was taken away from her people. She's not really interested in anyone else outside of her people because it's weird to her. Like, you're all alien, right? It's weird. It's she's gotten used to it, but it's still weird. She doesn't understand how any of that works, right?
Like Kovac, she just likes the pussy.
So, like, unless she was to actually 100%
dear.
return home, or like, it's just not something like that she would even entertain the idea of, and she just doesn't even think about. So, like, yeah, she's a little bit innocent on that front.
Yeah, so, something
Well, Mug
similar with.
just wanted to
with
avoid the
Sam.
horny bard memes.
But yeah, with Sam, it's like, yeah, never grew up being around other children. Didn't need to be. Never had to think a bit. They had their plan. Pissed off father as much as they could by joining Xel'nari. But kind of doing that diversion.
You know what?
Get into Xel'nari, train, do
Sam
things.
and Storm are
But
quite
then,
similar.
yeah.
Yeah,
great.
yours was piss off
Um,
your dad, and mine was piss off the head monk.
But I do have a way to maybe wrap up if people are. So it's getting quite late.
It's almost 11 over here.
Yeah. There are two ways I can think of we can do this. One, we can ask everyone individually, or two, I can get we can get Ash to do this. Basically, it's describe your character in one word. And I was
Oh.
actually quite curious to see if Ash could do it from a DM point of view, because we have our own
Describe each of
individual
our
point of view.
characters, yeah.
DM, if you are able to, can you
Okay,
describe
okay,
each
let
of our
me-
characters
let
in
me
one
just-
word?
Okay, let me just...
And it's just
one word is hard.
no, it's easy. You
Uh.
just say the class.
But it's like, it's nice to get an outward perspective
Mm.
of it, especially from someone who's been running the game for us. I'm curious
Words
about your
is-
feelings
yeah.
on that.
Two
matter.
words gives you adjective and noun, which can be a strong combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you feel that's easy, you can a certain amount of words that fits our characters. Get to
But it's-
Storm, just list.
But a small number. As small as you can manage.
Yeah.
The Tholai would be steadfast.
That's a good one.
Strong.
Povak would be calculating.
Hmm?
Ah, I like it.
I think. Mug's got a few, but I think one that's interesting for him would be misunderstood.
Oh.
Interesting.
But we also know the other one, which he keeps stating himself, which is awesome.
I thought you were gonna say bastard.
Storm is chaotic. Which I mean that was obvious.
That's a no-brainer.
She
Mhm.
lives for the chaos. It fuels her. She is of the wind, after all. It would not be in her nature to be anything else.
I think Sam would be mischievous.
Tracks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd see that.
I think that's what I'd go with them.
Nice.
Okay.
And if anyone in the audience would like to thinks they've got a word that describes our characters, be nice, please. Or nice or comedic. Just don't go down bad things. Post it in the Discord. and
Yeah.
we'll
I
get to
can
that.
post the link for the Discord.
Yeah, something for people to think of if they want to. Although all I'm thinking is
Yeah.
Kit's just gonna put gnome somewhere. That's all. That's all's gonna happen.
Mine'll be Gnome Killer. Let's
For
be
now,
honest.
though,
Gnome aside.
Gnomicide.
we can draw our wonderful and I think quite successful session of Q&A to a close and have a look
Yeah.
at who we can throw the ball to.
Yes.
Who is
Yes.
currently streaming on the D&D side of things?
Let's have a look.
I'm gonna sneeze.
Question. Bless you.
Gonna sneeze.
Pineapples.
Captain Robert. But I think that's a rerun by the looks of it. Yeah, it's a rerun.
Let's see.
That's okay.
see.
Who is here? There are.
Not too many people
There
going
is
because they've changed the daylight savings, so we're now
Ah.
an hour
Yeah.
out
Oh.
more than before.
There's Cast Exposition, who we've raided before, I believe.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh, they've only just
Okay.
been going for an hour, so yeah, we can throw
Yeah,
some
perfect.
their way. Perfect.
I helped.
You
are
did.
in fact helping, Odie.
Mm-hmm. A delightful bean.
What am I doing with my life right now?
Being wonderful.
Oh, you're too kind.
Hmm.
I am being uncoordinated, that's what I'm doing.
That's okay.
Alrighty. I'm gonna throw us over to our end screen. No, I wouldn't. Yeah, sure thing, Kit. We believe you. We believe
Gnome, I
you.
wouldn't. Oh, for
Mhm.
fuck's sake. Kit. Right, we can move on.
Hey, it's making all my jokes look better.
Oh my
Is
goodness.
it though?
We will return to our regularly scheduled broadcasts in the coming week. On Tuesday, we have Stars of That Number with me. The party have some pirates to deal with who've messed up their ship, and have some of them cornered. So we're going to see how that goes. And next Sunday, Ash is going to be back from his business trip and can provide us with the further shenanigans of this pile of misfits.
Where even are we
Indeed.
on that? Oh yeah, you're building a ship. Oh, in theory, if I threw you coal, can you make me a fucking diamond with fabricate?
No.
Damn it. Never mind.
Alrighty,
Wow.
so I'm gonna throw us to our
I
end
can't-
screen. Yeah, we'll catch you in the next stream. Thank you all for hanging
Yeah.
out. It's been great fun. And make sure you
Indeed.
give Cast Exposition our love.
Indeed.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.